Hello all, welcome. The prelim exam is over and many of you may be in confusion as to how to deal with the proceedings. So, to bring your confusion to an end, we at Edukemy and our team of faculty are here to discuss the in-depth analysis of the question. So, now let us begin the discussion subject-wise. So, to start with, we'll begin with the subject of geography.
Well, yeah, Harsh, geography and environment has to be the first subject to be discussed. See the 27th question, which I see from, paper A. The paper we are discussing is paper A. The 27th question is about the cycles. As you see, there are basically saying that which of the following biogeochemical cycles, the weathering of rocks is the main source of release of nutrients to enter the cycle. Now you have to know the distinction where the gas or where the rocks are involved in the cycle and what is their role. So obviously carbon and nitrogen cannot be the answer. The most apt answer for this would be phosphorus cycle. What do you say? Right?
Yes, absolutely.
And
So, was this question from any core area?
of course, this is NCERT. So what I have observed, even my colleagues will agree that this UPSC paper is saying at least for geography, go back to your NCERT. As I can see in 51 question also, right?
Yes. The next question that we discuss is question number 51. It says, how is permaculture farming different from conventional chemical farming? Now, anybody who knows what permaculture is would simply relate this permaculture word to its word roots, permaculture. They also relate to something called as conservation agriculture. Now, this has been already asked in UPSC exam. And to not have understood the meaning of this question, that would lead to getting two and a half short of marks. So, this question, permaculture, this question conventionally can be treated by eliminating 1, 2, 3, 4 options, whatever they are. However, if you look at the statement 3, it says, conventional chemical farming is easily possible in semi-arid regions, but permaculture farming is not so easily possible. Now, this is where I would relate to the extreme words, a simple elimination techniques that Sir Rahul and Ma'am Karuna had also talked about during the sessions. So, if we eliminate this option 3, we straight away come to option number B, which says 1, 2, and 4, and C, which is 4 only. And I would narrow down to B because permaculture is more about sustainable agriculture, interrelated agriculture, ecosystem management. It's a very simple answer. Answer is B, 1, 2, and 4.
Great. Moving to the next question, I guess
palm oil. The next question is on palm oil, and it has been very much in news lately because India has started its scheme for palm oil intensification in the country, in the northeastern areas and some other places. Now, the first statement says palm oil tree is native to Southeast Asia. Is that true? Absolutely not. It comes direct from NCERT that palm oil has been one of the important crops for cultivation in Nigeria. We're talking of Africa. And anybody who has read NCERTs would agree with me. The second statement. So now one question, since statement 1 has been eliminated, we narrow down to just option B that says 2 and 3. Even if you don't know point number 2 and 3, your answer is already done. But still, palm oil is a raw material for some industries producing lipstick and perfumes. Absolutely correct. Palm oil can be used to produce biodiesel. Palm oil is one of those specific oil seeds which can be used to harness biodiesel as well. It is something very unique to palm oil. So that is the answer. Answer is B, 2 and 3.
Yes, agreed. And a lot of discussion over palm oil in the Gazette has also been taken up.
Absolutely.
And coming to question number 53, I think me and Harsh had enough discussion over it, which is about the Indus River system. Again, Harsh, it was part of the Gazette in which we have taken the Indus Water Treaty.
Yeah.
But I think my first reaction was it could be Chenab because, the largest river, and then there is the longest river debate which you took. I think Shabir sir would be the right person to answer that.
Hi all of you. Thank you for referring it to me. I'm not very sure of the answer given the amount of references we had to go through. I'll tell you what the confusion is. The fact is, neither Chenab nor Satluj directly join Indus. Chenab and Satluj actually join together and they form a small common stream called as Panchnath. It is Panchnath that joins Indus. It's one of those vague googlies UPSC throws once in a while, or rather very often. So now that you have only 4 choices to mark, you should have eliminated Jhelum and Ravi. The debate would now be between Chenab or Satluj. So instinctually, I thought it should have been Chenab because Chenab is the larger river than Satluj. But then I looked up some books, including the Khulla textbook of Indian geography. It clearly mentions that Satluj joins Indus a few kilometers above Mithanko. So if I go by Khulla textbook and maybe some references across the net, Satluj is an acceptable answer, though I still think this was a bad question because all the 4 choices are incorrect. But we will go with Satluj.
I guess that is the correct in-depth analysis what we have.
So in such cases, typically what does happen? Does UPSC take a call or they reject the question?
It depends on क्या किस्मत आप लेके पैदा हुए. ठीक है. So अगर पछाड़ के भगवान को मारना है, तो आपको 2-3 अटैम्प्ट मारते रहिए. ठीक है.
Let us move on to the next question.
Before discussing these questions, a big shout out to Dimple Nankani ma'am and her mapping classes. I mean, if you have attended her classes, master session, booster session, you cannot go wrong with these questions. Harsh, the question here is about Dindwana, Kuchaman, Sargol and Khatu. Now, all these lakes are from Rajasthan. Why did they make this question? Why? Because, the Sambar Lake of Rajasthan was in news, but the catch here is Ramsar sites. अगर आपका कंफ्यूजन रामसर और सलाइन के बीच में है तो माना जाएगा. अगर आप मैनग्रोव्स और ग्लेशियर में है तो बेटा देखिए ऐसा है.
So,
ये चीजें हाँ.
is this any current relevance over here?
It was a very very intelligently framed question because Ramsar sites have been increased. We have 46 sites, and Dindwana Lake is a saline lake, very important for migratory birds. So if you only recognize Dindwana Lake and that it is not part of Ramsar, you could easily come to the answer that it is the saline. Alright, so do your map marking properly. Now coming to the 55th question, again a very intelligent question. I think Shabir sir would be in agreement. So this question says that Brahmani, Nagavali, Subarna Rekha, Vamsadhara, these 4 rivers, they are asking which of these rise from the eastern Ghats. So Harsh, by the familiarity, I think we would mark Brahmani and Subarna Rekha, right?
Yes, the known rivers.
The known rivers. So this is the mistake you have to omit. These are the known rivers, you do not have to go there. The answer here is Vamsadhara and Nagavali. For those who think that why should we know Nagavali, you should know Vamsadhara. Vamsadhara has been in news because of the water dispute. You eliminated, we have made endless videos, I think, Rahul, and you could come to the answer.
Yes, if the aspirants would have watched the important topics video which we have showed, they would have shortened their points as to what to focus on.
Yes.
Next question.
Next question is question number 56 that we're taking up. This question relates to licensing of seabed exploration and mining in international waters. Very much in news because India, China are fighting for mining in the seabed. Now, there's an organization called as UNCLOS, United Nations Convention on the Laws of Seas. It has 3 important segments. One is International Seabed Authority. The second one is Tribunal for Laws of Seas. And the third one is Commission on the Demarcation of Continental Shelves. Now, all these 3 work in sync with each other. And there is no mention of something called as Global Ocean Commission there. Very simple to understand. It is the commission, it is the International Seabed Authority which licenses the seabed exploration, and it has awarded certain amount of land for India as well in the Indian Ocean. So first is wrong. Eliminating first, all you get is 2 and 3. That's your answer. But even if you want to know further, yes, we have covered this in Gazette magazine. All the second part and the third part. India has received licenses for seabed mining exploration in international waters. India, in fact, returned back certain amount of land because it could not explore this. This was all in news all the last couple of years. Third statement says rare earth minerals are present on sea floor in international waters. I wonder who would say they are not present in international waters. So answer by default becomes B, out of elimination, out of understanding, B for 56.
Very nice.
And before anything we are discussing, Rahul, which is this paper? This is this is paper A, B, C, which
This is set A.
This is set A. This is set A that we're discussing.
All right.
Yes.
So Harsh, very detailed analysis. Harsh is very passionate about current affairs. So coming to the 57th question, which is about which of these is the least water efficient crop. Very important question. Anyone from geography should know. See, the options here can be confusing only if you do not know why sunflower is in the options. Pearl millet gram. See, whenever there is a question on arid, semi-arid land, and right now we are having the policy officer about doubling the farmer income, then ZBNF in the Rayalaseema, Andhra region, all of these. If you've gone through those currents, you know that it is the millet, the gram, and the oil seeds which are generally promoted because they take less water, irrigation requirement are less. Now, sugarcane is a water-intensive crop, and Maharashtra actually faces drought because of this problem. It is a cash crop, it gives money, but then the water resources are less. Ultimately, the interior parts of Maharashtra are facing. So, sugarcane, this question is not just from core geography, of course it is, but it is also applied because there is sunflower given in it. So, the answer here would be A.
And interestingly, we have covered the pricing, the statutory
Yes,
minimum
yes.
pricing of sugarcane in our Gazette magazine as well.
Now, coming to 58th question. 58th question is again from the core geography. You need to know your basics, your NCERT is right. It talks about the role of westerlies in the temperate region. Apart from that, it talks about the which part of the oceans are warmer or not. So I think Shabir sir would be the right person to give you an answer on this also.
So I think I'm slotted for life as a geography teacher. I can't teach anything else. Keep coming back to me. Fair enough. So I think statement number 1 shouldn't be a problem at all, because time and again we talk about tropical waters have upwelling along the eastern side. The confusion students have is eastern waters versus western coast. If I look at the Atlantic Ocean, the eastern waters of Atlantic Ocean are along the western coast of continents. We're talking about Angola, we're talking about the waters along Namibia, we're talking about the waters along the Sahara desert coast, the countries like Senegal, like Morocco. This is a straight question. Eastern waters do have upwelling, they also have cold currents. I think you know about Benguela cold current, you know about the Peru cold current. So statement number 1 is right. Now statement number 2 could have been a confusion for some of you, because explicitly we don't study the effect of westerlies on the warming of waters along the eastern side. Okay, so what happens is when the when the westerlies are moving from west towards east, they do drag the warm waters towards the eastern waters. For example, the Gulf Stream water becomes the North Atlantic drift and towards Norwegian Sea and towards North Sea. Similarly, the Kuroshio warm current is dragged on the eastern side and it becomes the warm Alaskan current along the Gulf of Alaska. And mind you, water bodies like the Gulf of Alaska or even the North Sea or part of the Bay of Biscay, this is very much the temperate waters in the range of around 50 degrees, 48 degrees, 53 degrees and so on. So statement 2 is also correct. In fact, to confirm this, I looked up some of the textbooks and it clearly mentions the impact of the westerly winds, where the winds do drag the warm waters towards the eastern side. So my answer is 1 and 2 are correct. The answer should have been a C, both 1 and 2.
So the next question, climate smart agriculture. I guess this was something in previous year papers also.
Absolutely. These kind of questions are something that have to be dealt with in details. And since they have been dealt with in details previously, let me just get into the factual part of it. See, the first statement says, climate smart village approach in India is a part of a project led by Climate Change, Agriculture and Food Security, an international research program. So, under this international research program, which is under an international organization called as International Agricultural Research, right? So, this is headquartered in France. Now, in case you do not know these kind of data, it becomes a little tough for you to attempt. However, if you vaguely understood how India takes assistance of developed countries here in agriculture, you would not find Russia here. You would not find a country like Canada here, because India usually takes assistance of climate smart agriculture from countries in the temperate or tropical areas. So we would talk of Israel, France, USA as well. So France, if at all tukka मारे हो, तो हो सकता था सही हो सकता था आपसे. So answer here is 3. There's some factual elements of it. For example, ICRISAT is a research center for them or not. So these are some factual contents, but yes, it is so. Answer is D.
Lot of knowledge to share from her.
Yes.
60.
See, there are questions like these which are there to puzzle, but then there are questions like these जो तुम्हें पास कराने के लिए आते हैं. देखो इनको तो करना ही पड़ेगा आपको. If you remember 2012-13 में they framed similar question on tropical evergreen forest. वो पूरी आपको कहानी बना के बता देते हैं फॉरेस्ट में ये होता है वो होता है and what is the kind of forest. Similar question is here that leaf litter decomposes faster. Obviously it will decompose faster. Why? अब मैं पहले बता दूं, this is about tropical rainforest, so that we understand what is given here is it is going to decompose faster. Why? It is so hot, it is so humid. The humus content in these regions is higher. Therefore, you can see where the humus content is coming from. Then it also talks about the canopy, the wider canopy. Why? Because the leaves, they are of the bigger size. They kind of create an umbrella kind of, the visual is like that. And because there is a canopy which is so broad leaved, you need the epiphytes need to climb on these trees. So वो सारा visual picturization दिया है आपको. The answer here is tropical rainforest, and I think it is one of the easiest questions from geography.
So, like if somebody is reading this NCERT, so is this question like practical?
This question may be Rahul, but yes, core has to be strong, but the applied has to be stronger is what I can get from this question. Right? Now coming to the 61st question, which is about the savanna. Now do you see a pattern here? They asked a question on tropical, now they are asking a question on savanna. Earlier they asked a question on the applied, which is about ICRISAT and all that. From the question of savanna, I think it needs a little detailing and teaching. So again, we'll go back to Shabir sir for this.
Yeah, thanks, Karuna. Actually, I'm surprised with the range of questions they have asked on ecosystems, ecology, and biomes. The savanna biome they have asked about the equatorial biome, a couple of questions on biogeochemical cycles also. So in one way, I'm happy they're asking more from ecosystems, environment, and geography. It keeps us relevant in some ways. Having said that, like what we said, Rahul, NCRTs are must, but NCRTs are not enough. The difference between them. So the one on equatorial forests, that's possible you can answer with NCRT. But you might need to read a bit more for the savanna region. But even then, because it talks about savanna, which has small trees, it has no extensive stretches of trees, there are grasses. So it's asking what are the factors that does this. So now see, in this range of choices, what I expected is anybody who knows a bit of biomes should have understood the role of fires. Fires, these are natural to the savanna forest. They're natural part of the ecosystem's control. And that's why savanna regions have fire-resistant plants and trees. Okay, and the typical adaptations that they have. So fire should have been one of the choices. So I would then converge on choice A and choice C because both have 2. Now the question was, if you ask me, there is merit in all the 5 statements. But if I'm choosing the choices, I would have gone for grazing herbivores as very, very important. So grazing herbivores actually control the amount of vegetation on the ground. Elephants in savanna landscapes are a keystone species. So grazing herbivores are important. Rainfall seasonal, yes, they are a sharp season of droughts and then heavy rainfall which can have local floods also. Even that restricts the vegetation. And of course, the soil factor is not wrong. Soil also plays an important role. But given the choices, I think it should have been 2, 3, 4. I want to point this out, and it's not just for those who have given examination. Remember, the idea about practicing this is knowing how to mark the most appropriate answer. It's not about marking the correct answer. It's possible 2 choices are right, but go for the most appropriate one. So by that logic, it has to be 2, 3, and 4. So 61, choice is C.
I think that was like a lecture itself. Thank you so much, sir. Got us back to the class. Now coming to the 62nd question, I think this is one of the easy ones. Your basics should be right. And As even sir teaches us in class, if you see the GS foundation courses or other, you'll find this question is right there. Don't even look at the question. It is about the amount of fresh water that you have. You have 3% fresh water. The maximum is in ice cap, and then it is the groundwater. These are the first and the second. Now in between you have the lakes, the atmosphere, and the river. So this is the sequence you have to remember. The ice caps, the groundwater, the lakes, atmosphere, and the river. And I think with that you could have solved this question.
Yeah.
So yes, LAR. See, we remember that because we see his lectures. Coming to 63rd
The
question.
answer to 62nd is
The second option is correct. So, the amount of water in lakes, in rivers and lakes is more than the amount of water in groundwater. So, it will be B. Now, coming to 63rd question, which is, okay, about this question, I want to give an idea. It might seem like a difficult question because there are 4 statements. All these 4 statements are related to moringa, drumsticks, tamarind tree. Then it is about minor forest produce. But if you just know that out of all of these, moringa is actually a deciduous forest crop. You eliminate the first option and you will directly come to option B. So this actually is one of the easy questions if you know the distribution of forest and important trees. Would you agree, Harsh, to this? Right?
Yes.
About the moringa. Now coming to, I think this is also from the core area, 64.
Yes, absolutely. Karuna?
So, yes.
64. The black cotton soil of India has been found due to weathering of
As well as I think it's one of the simplest questions.
Yes.
What is the answer, Karuna? Volcano.
Volcanic should be the answer. Yes.
Answer is
The volcanic should be
as
the
simple
answer
as
to
that.
this. Yes.
Okay, so Karuna and Harsh, like seeing the questions, so what do you think is the trend of this geography element?
As far as I understand, they do have some good conceptual questions here. Along with that, I think getting back to basics, studying the NCERT, that forms the key. One should not get disturbed by certain questions which have certain very, very factual analysis or factual components. So I think the fundamentals should be strong. That's what I understand in talking.
And what about the previous year themes? Like, are they repetitive in nature?
Right, so I think we had enough of geography. Now we should move to the topic which we can't afford to miss, that is history.
Okay.
So Arun sir and Rahul sir, yeah, so every year almost like 16 to 18 questions, but this year 22 questions bang on directly from the history. What's your take on this?
Very happy.
As a teacher, definitely, it's good to see UPSC really ensuring that kids get to know about their cultural identity. This is important, isn't it? Right? So keeping all that in mind, let's try and get these questions one by one. And again, we would try and look at these questions from the perspective of a student. Right? 31st question, again, we are taking up set A, overall 22 questions. Right?
The first option, it is regarding, the question is regarding Chauset Yogini temple near Morena. It is in MP.
Right.
So the first option, it says that it is a circular temple built during the reign of Kachapagata dynasty.
I have no idea about it. I've never heard of this dynasty. I'm telling you this.
So we can assume that NCERT is of no help for this question.
Again, देखो बच्चे एक बात समझिए. I'm sure we all should understand this. NCERT has pretty much everything written in it,
But in some form or the other.
in some form or the other.
I guess the theme is given. So we
Right.
have to analyze the theme over there. We have to go in depth about that particular theme.
And then apply it.
The reason why this question was probably asked was because of the fourth statement.
Yes.
Right? It is in news because of that. And you should have used your simple, you have been living into this country, you know, yogi is Shiv. Yogini is Parvati. It cannot be promoting the Vaishnav cult. Isn't it?
That eliminates the option number 3.
So if you know this much, then 3 is gone. Your option B and D are gone out of 1 and C. Now you even do not need to know what is Kachapagata dynasty. I will once again not read it for this year as well.
Elimination works over
It should work.
It should work.
It has to work. No, Google नहीं चाहिए बेटा. Google एक है. Isn't it? Yeah.
Right. So the answer to this is C, and it is the only circular temple. I guess this is a very vague kind of a statement, because what is circular? I guess the definition is.
Rahul made a very wonderful point, during the discussion, that the moment you say only circular, that becomes in itself a fallacy.
I think these terms, the only one, I think this gives a hint to the student that we can directly eliminate the answer. That is
30-second again,
would
yeah.
be one of the hacks to eliminate it,
So
right?
that, yeah, we have also done some videos, like Karuna also have, you also have done.
Yeah.
So
The
a lot of
hacks one,
videos are
yeah.
there on this hacks as to how to eliminate the unnecessary statements.
Yeah.
The extreme modes.
30-second, pretty straight, I would believe.
Yeah,
Isn't
directly
it?
from I think UPSC
Dholavi, as you
favorite,
answer.
theme.
Recently, I guess it was in news, and we have also taken a lot of discussion in the current affairs, also in history, also. In a lot of
33rd.
days.
Let's quickly keep
Yes.
moving. We should
So
move
the
on
answer to
this
this is Dholavira.
Right. 33rd, very tricky question. I'm sure you guys would agree. This is a very tricky question. What do you say, Rahul?
In the question itself, it was tricky. It was asked the first quarter of 17th century,
Very
that
true,
is
man.
1625.
Right.
So till 1625 only, the space was given.
Yeah. Yeah.
So factories where the English East India Company have established was the question.
Yeah, and we were not able to, and when we were looking at this question paper, I was not able to, and I'm sure Rahul was also not able to solve this, and we had to go and really get into the detail of, John Ruddick and couple of books, and then find out the timeline and say, ki bhai, haan, ye hua.
Because this was a very
You see
difficult
how-
kind of a question.
I think dubious. इसकी तैयारी हुई नहीं.
34th, very interesting question. See, again, you can use, देखो वही बात है बेटा, थोड़ा सा भी अगर कुछ भी याद रहता है ना, उससे तुम्हें इतनी इंपॉर्टेंट इंफॉर्मेशन मिलती है that you have no idea. Rahul just pointed out one very simple step, that Yadavs of Devgiri, they are coming in around 1100,
Well, yes.
1200. Alauddin Khilji and Yadavs of Devgiri. We have so many videos made on them, right?
Nakshabazi.
Yeah.
We have covered a lot of dynasties.
So if 5 goes away, again, couple of your options get out.
So one question I have, when I was an aspirant, I really had a problem mugging up or cramming up of facts, So what is your take? What would you suggest to the students? What should help them out when it comes to cramming up of facts?
I guess mapping.
Mapping
Mapping is one thing.
or is there
Nakshabazi.
revision?
Rahul once again made a very smart point. I think what he's missing, that point which he made. Can you please share that observation, Rahul?
See, if you analyze this year's paper, most of the questions are person-centric. The dynastic personalities and places, these are only the themes that are being covered this year. We have analyzed 22 questions here, and nearly 21 questions speaks about what the place is talking about, what is the location of the place, what the dynasty is related to, and what is the personality is specific related to.
And sir, was this the same for the last year as well? Where the questions
I
were
doubt not to this extent. Not to this extent. They are just one question, but this time around I noticed a lot of such. Yeah. Again, 35th, again, very sadistic question. I mean, I was not able to. Lunes ने भारतीय महिलाओं को क्या करते देखा? I really do not know. I mean, wrestling, astrology, accounting, soothsaying.
Yes.
about the
We
travelers
had,
coming up in India.
Bernier question.
Yeah, Bernier
Uh,
question.
Yes, we had a similar question. Here also, when the important topics of various subjects were told to keep in focus, we have also told that travelers. This is one of the most focused topic of
Themes,
UPSC.
themes is
This
what we
theme
need
is
to
what
identify, I
important.
think.
We also told regarding what travelers, regarding when you are reading regarding travelers, what are the dimensions you need to focus. So yes, this is one of that. But yes, understood that this is very difficult to find in any source.
But again, we can actually focus on the themes, That is what we discussed in the 130 session today also. That themes is what we should focus on.
This is where I think, we all should be thanking Shabbir se. मैं आपको सही बताऊं, because he is the one who went after, us and asked us to sit down and make those PYQs. And it is after those PYQs that we were able to actually identify these themes, and we were able to even, raise certain points कि भाई ये पढ़ो. और Yeah.
And actually, when you know that these travelers are most focused in exam, you read a little extra about because whenever you see current affairs, you read a lot of stuff. You follow some things, right? So for history also, when these themes are there, you should go in for a deep. And yes, for this question, wrestling, astrology, accounting, and soothsaying. That is, soothsaying means telling story, telling some kind of events. So yes, all the four options are correct over here. The answer is D.
Okay, that's his D. Wow.
Soothsaying also relates to
Fortune telling.
predicting the
Yeah,
future.
fortune telling. 36th question again, this is a googly for me. I had no idea that Rabindranath Tagore, he created this national anthem here. I had no clue about it.
But we had a similar news appearing in the current affairs.
Yes, it was there. It was there.
It was
Yes.
there, and so the reference is from there. So we actually have to look also from the current affairs news because everything
They had been 100 years.
direct from the
Yeah.
book.
It's deriving and connecting.
Yeah, so the option C, I guess Rabindranath Tagore translated the national anthem from Bengali to English here.
Yes.
It is the Mandapalli. And J. Krishnamurti, if you remember, it is also
Jaddu Krishnamurti.
yes, place associated with Mandapalli.
So can we call it a complete bouncer? Yes.
No,
Not necessarily.
not
Not
We can
necessarily.
actually
Was
connect
kind of a
and derive.
Not necessarily.
Perfect.
37th, I guess, is a very straightforward question. If you are reading the NCRTs very, very nicely. So, Burza home, as we all know that it is one of the first word even in the NCRTs. If you are reading the Neolithic section,
Neolithic age of Kashmir, if you look at it, then Burzahom and Gufkaral, these are the two sites that we teach. Right? Chandraketugarh, this again is something which we were looking at it, and it is known for terracotta art. It definitely is. Ganeshwar is something which we should have guessed. Ganeshwar mein काफी सारे copper artifacts मिले हैं.
also mentioned in NCRT.
Back to basics. That
Khetri mines and all. So yeah, Ganeshwar,
What happens
Jodhpura
with
culture.
history- What happens with history, sir, I feel that lot of aspirants think that there are many sources. They tend to ignore all this kind of little sources.
You need to just focus on one book, man. Any book, pick any book. They all have the same content, isn't it? 38th, if you look at it again, if you should have just seen two episodes, you would have cracked this paper, this question, I'm so sorry, right? Changiz Khan, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, I've spoken about them. The answer here will be 38th, the answer is one only. This is the only one which is correct.
Yeah, because if you go through this third statement, it is Deva Raya 2. And Vasudhigama, I guess he came after.
He comes in 1498
I
or something.
think on this, we really need to be through with the timelines as to who entered where. I mean, the timeline of people entering India and then relating between the two different timelines. Does it, I mean, isn't very important to
It is.
relate also,
I-
just not the
chronology is
timelines, but
important.
relating it.
If you
also.
get a hang of the chronology, then a lot of the times you can
Exactly.
eliminate options very easily.
I think history is all about that only.
So you need to really get some hang of it. You're
Yeah.
correct. Only then you can actually also get themes,
Yeah.
isn't it? So Saint Francis Xavier, again a very tough question. You talk about it, please.
Francis Xavier. Actually, the event of St. Francis Xavier is celebrated in Goa every year, but recently it was in news because it was cancelled due to the COVID restriction, and so this question is here. And
It only happened online.
so here, yes, he was one of the founding members of Jesuit order.
Yeah, but he did not die in India. He died in China actually.
This
Right, so-
statement becomes very difficult to analyze. Actually,
I know,
One
I
should
know,
know where.
I know. Unless you're a Goa Christian, I doubt you would have been able to crack
I
it.
think again the interlinkages between the current affairs and the history is getting deepened every year now. Yeah?
Yes.
And answer, I'll ask you personally. Do you think even by reading current affairs one can solve this question?
Again, your objective is not to crack everyone, isn't
Yeah.
it? Exactly. There are enough questions. जैसे कहते हैं low hanging fruit. I'll quickly show you a couple, right? For example, if you look at 42nd and 43rd, very easy to crack. right? If you look at a 40th is a question which you shouldn't even bother, going about and reading. It's a very, very wonderful question. But again, for that, you need to get into a class to understand it. तो उसमें अभी नहीं जाएंगे हम लोग. Prelims में अपने को क्यों पढ़ना है इतना? Right?
So coming to the 40th question.
No, I will. You want me to talk about it? Okay. सारा समय उसमें निकल जाएगा. I mean, okay.
Very lengthy question.
Mitaksha is basically primarily your present in it's the older form, right, of Hindu law, and it basically says that all the ancestral property goes to the person only after the death of the father, right? And the other one is the more reformed version, which is called as a Daya Bhag. Here, the moment you are born, you have a claim to your dad's property. तो आप उनसे जाके लड़ सकते हैं पॉकेट मनी के लिए. In Bengal, the concept was Daya Bhag, and Daya Bhag was also included women, and this is one reason why we notice a lot of sati in Bengal. क्योंकि महिलाओं को भी वहां पे जायदाद पैतृक संपत्ति लेने की आजादी थी, तो उनको मार दिया जाता था.
So
Get the point?
By that statement, I guess third statement becomes right over here. It is absolutely right. But the second statement, in the Mitakshara system, the sons can claim right to the property during the lifetime of the father. This statement is correct. Whereas in Daya Bhaga system, it is only after the death of the father that the sons. So here, this statement is correct, but the option, each statement is correct.
What is Rahul's point is that probably they should also specify that sons and daughters. So maybe on that count you can question this statement.
This is thoda discrepancy wala question.
Maybe.
Sir, I have a question here. Sir, is there some word root to Daya Bhag? Is there some meaning to Daya Bhag division dependent on some? Is there something like that?
अभी तक तो शायद नहीं समझ में आया है. Maybe one day.
I think, yeah. So we had enough of discussion. So we'll quickly jump to the 41st.
41st, very tough. Once again, very tough question. Except Bhavabhuti, I don't think both of us had any clue.
Yes.
Exactly about
Except
Bhavabhuti
yeah.
can be dealt very nicely only on the basis of Bhavabhuti.
Yes.
8th century, he was a poet, and in many of the books it is written, and the famous.
It is a part of classical literature. He has written some plays such as Uttara Ramacharit, Malti Madhav.
Yes.
Malti Madhav is his more famous name. So maybe that way you could have remembered that he has written a play.
So
And cracked it.
46th.
Because when you go to Shemeshwara, very less reference even on the internet would be
Nothing. Shemeshwar, Hastimal, वो कह रहे हैं बेबी के नाम रख लो ये सारे. तो आप समझ सकते हैं.
So moving on
It's
to the
absolutely-
42nd question now, which
Okay.
is, as Sir said, is a low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
So
Can we quickly proceed?
Yes.
Because the
we
time
can-
is very less.
so we can quickly proceed with this question, but one thing, don't you think there are so many provisions in every act which becomes difficult for students? This is something, this comes with quality also, because there are these provisions in every act that every
And do you notice there is a kind of an evolution?
yeah.
And
I think
बोलने
I was
की-
told in your class.
Right.
Yeah.
During the PYQs as well, we have talked about those Charter Act, Regulating Act, etc. And I think if you follow that sense,
Yeah.
then you get a better grasp and you're able to crack these questions.
Perfect. So we
Even although I should say, in this 42nd question, the second statement is quite tricky.
First statement is incorrect, because here the granting voting rights to all the women. There was a certain restriction, that was eligibility criteria was put here. The first statement is incorrect. The second statement is also incorrect, but the reserve seats, they have given reserve seats in the separate electorate himself, not directly. So yes, this statement becomes wrong.
Yeah.
So the answer to this is either 1 or 2.
and then again
Then the
43rd.
43rd will be some kind of a very, I guess,
Very
ball in the
strict.
hand.
Yeah.
पाप हो जाएगा अगर ये गलत कर दिया तो.
नहीं ऐसा नहीं, बच्चों कभी कभी गलती हो जाती है यार. ऐसा नहीं.
नहीं, but we can't afford to miss on such questions.
Yeah, we cannot afford to miss. Yes, that is true.
So, Gazette magazine make a section in this day in history.
Okay.
And just August 8th and 9th,
Okay.
we covered this day in history and we had this. We had this.
Great.
So 44th question, songs from prison.
This
Yes,
is
the answer to this is Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. And
again मैंने इसमें से एक भी कविता भी नहीं पढ़ी है ना नाम सुना है.
some kind of relevance to some current affairs.
A complete bouncer for the students. Out of the box one, right?
One relevance which he was able to find out was that इनकी गांधी जी के भी जो पौत्र हैं पौत्र वो साउथ अफ्रीका में she has been arrested for some fraud.
So might be that.
Okay.
that
Might be some
yeah,
kind of
okay.
relevance.
45th again a very straight question. If you have studied Mughal administration, सूबे ये अकबर ने बनाए थे as governor, सूबेदार रखे थे. Once you have figured that out, I think you should have been able to figure this one out. Option A is your answer. 46th again a very straightforward question.
Right.
हिंदू फीमेल स्कूल अर्ली फीमेल एजुकेशन के लिए दो लोगों ने काम किया है. एक किया है ईश्वर चंद्र विद्यासागर और दूसरे किया है आपके क्या नाम है ज्योतिबा फूले. राइट. और जो किया है वो तो आप देख ही रहे हैं. देखिए कितने कितने लोग बैठे.
Directly, I guess these direct straightforward
From the
NCERT.
NCERT.
This again is a very straightforward question here.
47
NCRTs we can't afford to miss. That is what we shall pass.
ये INA वाला है ना ये तो.
INA question 47, directly straightforward question.
Maybe straight, yeah.
Because of the trial was going on these three people, and that is when the different community people they got united to fight against the British.
Yes.
So yes, this officers of the Indian National Army. This is the answer.
This is 49th अगर देखें just quickly moving on. 49A is correct, right? Ajanta is next to Waghora. If we look at 50th.
Also, on 49th question, I think Rahul, you took a discussion telling about the important theme.
Yes,
You discussed
we
this in the
had a
class as
discussion.
well.
We told that regarding architecture, regarding paintings, you have to go to the location of that particular thing.
You told us,
We
right?
have also told regarding Ajanta. Go to the location, find the which of the rivers is flowing nearby. So this question in ऐसे videos देख के थोड़ा idea
So yeah, the 22
In fact, if you look at it, even one of the options, Pandav Lena caves, it was in news. नासिक में वो न्यूज में था ना भी एक नई केव वहां पे ASI ने ढूंढा.
So 22 questions done through.
But
sir?
48th was a tricky
48
question.
you missed,
Let
yes.
us raise that red flag, please.
Yeah. 48th question में Rohilkhand kingdom was formed out of the territories occupied by Ahmad Shah Durrani. This statement is wrong actually क्योंकि Rohilkhand was formed पहले, then came Ahmad Shah Durrani. So this statement is wrong and the first two statements are correct because if you read the history, you will just find the answer to this and it is given in NCERT.
I have one slight cautionary note here. The language which they are using is emerged out, and that's a very, very ajeeb usage, right? So you can counter each of these statements. So I would say that you need to really think about it.
Yeah. So I think we have sailed through the 22 questions. One last thing about that I wanted to ask you.
Three questions are left actually.
Which one?
Do we have time? Do we have time or not?
I think we have to move to the other.
Okay,
subjects
fair.
as well.
Then we will know. We do have a while.
And history is also.
Okay.
Kind of question.
Thank you so much. This is about International Mother Language Day, right? So this is not done by UNICEF, it is done by UNESCO. ये आपको गेस करना चाहिए था ना. आपको लगा मदर लैंग्वेज है तब फिर हम चाइल्ड और एजुकेशन वाले में जाएंगे यूनिसेफ तो वो गलत हो जाएगा ना. ये तो कल्चर से रिलेटेड बात है. लैंग्वेज इज पार्ट ऑफ कल्चर, राइट? सो यूनेस्को होना चाहिए यहाँ पर. जल्दबाजी में अगर गलत करके आए हो तो बहुत गलत किया है. सेकेंड, the demand that again a very tricky question. This is a very tricky statement.
The demand that Bangla has to be one of the national languages was raised in the
Pakistan.
Constituent Assembly of Pakistan. It was raised, I guess.
It was जब पाकिस्तान में बांग्लादेश भी हिस्सा था उस समय बंगालियों ने मांगा था. They demanded that पाकिस्तान में Bangladesh should also be an official language, but it was rejected. And of course उसके बाद क्या हुआ 71 की war and all, we know that.
But why this question?
अभी ये क्वेश्चन क्यों उठता है? देखो, whatever I was able to find out was 2007-8 के आसपास बांग्लादेश ने रिक्वेस्ट करी थी that 21st of February should be made the International Mother Language Day, and everybody seemed to be have agreed. अब इस साल क्यों इनको पूछने का मन किया, really?
It has been 50 years to the liberation of Bangladesh. Oh yes.
Absolutely, yes. See how wonderful this organization is.
That's the beautiful part about it. We covered this in Gazette, and then you have certain components integrating all of it. I think we form the bombshell for knowledge.
बहुत प्यारा, nice.
So, like if we analyze the trend, it is more of a personality, dynasty, and place center. So, and
And the
little
difficulty
of
level, how about
medium to
that?
difficult we can.
It was a difficult one, yeah? Okay.
All right, done. A couple of other questions as well. वो बाद में वो languages पर है कुछ, थोड़े से वो बाद में कभी देख लेंगे किसी और जगह.
Yes. Now, I guess let us move on to science and
Economy.
I think it is economy. We should take economy.
economics.
A lot of bouncer questions. Yeah.
Yeah, we have to talk about economy. Not lot of bouncer questions. Lot of questions which is derived from current affairs. Lot of concepts which are derived from current affairs. Not directly current affairs thing, but it is inspired. We can say that these questions are inspired from current affairs. Be it the scenario, economic scenario created by COVID and things like that. So we will let's proceed. So Namki, what's your take about this
Yeah,
paper?
so
How you feel?
before starting off with what's my take, I would like to say there are lot many students who are very apprehensive about the subject since it's being a little technical one. So it's something I would like to suggest, though the subject is little technical, but it's a very logical subject where one thing leads to the another. So you can actually derive the answer when you are able to connect the dots. And now coming on to the question that you asked, that how was the paper? So the economy section of it, I think it's a very balanced one. Had the core concepts been set right, the answers would, I think the students would have got their answers right. So a balanced one. I mean, I don't think there are much bouncers except that CDSL question. Everything was
Perfectly.
manageable.
Perfectly.
So, yeah.
One request: the students can mention whatever answer they have written in the examination. So yes.
Yeah. So we'll start with the first question, talking about the RBI. The one question always comes from this theme, which is the RBI, Central Bank of the country. Now, if you see this question, the news was there. It was there in news 2 years back also, where this this line, the second point,
second
I
statement
think we
you can
can
see.
use the elimination technique, saying that certain provisions in the Constitution of India gives the central government the right. No, it's not the Constitution of India, it is the RBI Act that gives the power. And if you know this, you can easily eliminate the option A, B and D, and the correct answer goes is
C.
C.
And Nanki, one more interesting thing in this question
Yeah.
itself is, if you have ever read it, maybe say 2 years back, there is in statement number 3, you can see RBI Act is mentioned.
Yeah.
So it would have act as an alarm. Suppose you missed that Constitution of India part, but you could have come back, okay, it's RBI Act, so that trigger should have gone. So yeah, so that's
Easily the elimination technique can be used.
and mental alertness, you got to be alert.
Moving on to the next question, which talks about the employees' provident fund coverage. Now again, there's a catch. The first word says the all casual workers being employed.
Yes, but we know that, so it is all casual workers
Yeah.
are entitled for EPFO,
Yeah.
Employee Provident Fund. Now, okay, our Tukka trick says that all is incorrect. Okay, that's the first thing, which we use it. But here all, and it happened to be right in this case, that all casual workers are not entitled, because it is there is a limit, 15,000. If someone is earning more than that, they are not eligible. Or if someone is working in a enterprise which is employing less than 20, then again they are not eligible. So here Tukka trick works. But come to Nanki, you see 2 and 3.
3.
Here,
All the casual workers are entitled for regular working hours and overtime. Little of conceptual clarity and mugging up of facts is required to solve this answer. Don't you
yes,
think so?
yes, exactly. And then see statement number 3.
Also, yeah.
Here is, see, the government can, by a notification, specify that an establishment or industry shall pay wage only through its bank account. So that this only thing, this, if you go by Tukka trick, you will mark it wrong. but here it is right. So this one question teaches us a lesson about Tukka tricks. Tukka tricks alone is not going to help you. It got to be backed by some background knowledge.
But actually, we had already put a disclaimer at the start.
Yeah, right.
Knowledge is must.
Yes, Rahul, completely agree.
Yeah, so moving on to the next question, which is a
So their answer is B.
B. Yeah.
Okay, casual worker answer is B, 2 and 3. You eliminate one, you are coming at.
Yeah.
Okay, let's come.
Yeah, moving on to the next question, which is a blend of conceptual, which requires conceptual knowledge as well as the awareness about the current affairs. So which actually our economy is going through the recession times and what steps the government would have taken. So I think it's easier to eliminate the first one. Okay, so if you see the first option, cut in tax rates accompanied by increase in interest rates. So ideally what students do is they jump to the conclusion reading the first statement, cut in the tax rate, and they just trick the answer, right? But I would suggest you should read the entire statement and then decide what the answer is. So in this, if you see, B is the right answer because A stands eliminated. C says increase in tax rates accompanied by reduction of interest rate. Again, not a right answer. And D says reduction of expenditure on public projects. So how would government afford to reduce its expenditure when they have to revive the economy out of a recession? So B clearly stands out as the
So
right
yes,
answer.
so again, I would like to point out this thing, exam awareness thing, that if there is one long statement and one part of the statement is correct, then that's a trap. One part of a statement may be correct, but still you have to be similarly alert in second part of the statement also.
Read the entire statement.
Read entire
Then
statement
decide.
and then
Yes.
decide.
Perfect.
Okay.
Now moving on to the next question, which is directly from the 12th standard NCRT, microeconomic concept, which talks about law of demand.
In
and
fact,
supply.
macroeconomics have made a comeback. I think after 2017, it has made a comeback. There wasn't any question from microeconomics being asked. There was opportunity cost question asked probably in 2017.
Yeah.
And now, so okay, that's a welcome change. So okay.
So microeconomy says it talks about the law of demand. The market demand for good might increase if the price of its substitute increase, which is wrong in this answer. And then if you eliminate the first one, so I think A, C and D stands C and D stands eliminated.
Yes. If you know that, see, one is right because price of its substitute increases, and it's like if price of a substitute increases, then of course the price of the alternate good, which is the good in question, that the demand for it will increase. That is the thing. You can take example of coffee and tea. So suppose that price of the coffee will increase. So some of the households who are not earning enough, they will shift to tea, even though they will have coffee. So this the love only is not deciding the demand and supply. It is also the market conditions. So yeah.
Everything like till now 4 questions, every question was applied in this.
Exactly.
Right.
You will see
But
more. You will see more.
It's based on the basic concepts.
Right.
Nothing
So,
over the top was required.
NCRT and your current
Basic
knowledge.
concepts. You set your basic concepts right, and then you are through the paper.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the 5th question talks about.
Fourth one, we are yet to arrive at the answer. Okay. So yeah, the first is correct. In fact, the easiest one to catch is 4. Its price fall. Of course, if its price will fall, then anyway, market demand of the good will increase. So ये तो सीधा है कि दाम घटा तो demand बढ़ा. Okay, that's basic economics. So now if 4 is correct and 1 is correct, we have already arrived at this, and the only combination of 1 and 4 is A. So okay, even without discussing about option number 2 and 3, we will arrive at the answer. That's the only combination available. So maybe UPSC examiners should set options more intelligently. They should be a bit more careful. Okay.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
let us move to next question.
So this topic again is from the current affairs because of the recent chaos around the urban cooperative banks and the RBI taking control over the boards of urban cooperative banks. So if you see about this, so there are actually 2 kind of cooperatives. So first is so the first one being controlled by the state governments, and the second one being under the control of central government.
There
And
is
in
dual
all this
control.
dual
Yes, yes,
control
there is
where
dual
the RBI
control.
comes into picture. Then there is if you go through the statement one carefully, so there's a thing mentioned that they are being regulated by local boards. So I don't think so local boards comes into picture anywhere, and there itself you can eliminate the option. And
Yes.
if you eliminate, if you're very sure about the first that it is wrong, you can eliminate A, C, and D, and you can easily derive at the option that is
Two and
D is
three,
your
yes.
right answer.
Well,
Elimination works in this one as well. Moving on to the
perfectly.
I guess we had this in our gazette that we have not. Yes, sir?
Yes,
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 covered
yes,
the gazette.
yes.
we have so we have covered urban
Yes, yes, we have
cooperative
reviewed
in
it
the,
and, yes.
in the magazine that we have made for the students also.
And there's a request for all the students, please give your answers as well. If you have any doubt, please let us know. We'll try to solve them. All right?
And very well analyzed, Nanki, about this, that if you eliminate one, if you are sure about one, you are arriving at
Yeah.
The
the
answer to
answer.
this is
B, 2 and
is
3.
the answer.
B is the answer. Now,
question.
now bond yield, this is your favorite area, Nanki.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
So
yeah,
talking about the bond yields, so there is always a relationship between the price of the bonds and the yields of the bonds. So the moment the price increases, the yield decreases. So the question talks about how is the what of the following are having effect on the government bond yields. So the first one says the action of the United States Federal Reserve, yes, as it determines the inflow and outflow of money in the economy, and it changes the bond yields. Then moving on to the next actions of the Reserve Bank of India. The Reserve Bank of India injects or sucks out the liquidity through OMO, and it actually have a bearing on the bond yields. Moving on to the third option, inflation and short-term interest rates. Certainly it has, so it all boils down to the fact that you have your basics right, you can easily capture the answers, and in this it is the D option that stands
yes.
right.
So finally we have a 1, 2, 3 all
Yeah.
right
All
answer.
of it, right.
First time, I guess we
So,
economic.
yeah.
So
So-
never
so-
underestimate the single option.
So earlier there used to be a trend that if you see 1, 2, 3, there are high chance that it is going to be correct. But
Wait for science.
Seven.
okay, so now see, seventh question we are talking about which of the above can be included in foreign direct investment. So this is about the definition of FDI. Okay,
And there are not many students who are still or who till the end moment remain confused about the difference between FII and the FDI. Don't you think
yes,
that?
yes,
Yeah.
and I think eventually we are going to disagree on answer of this question,
Yeah.
and probably debates will go on in the following
This
weeks. But okay, so the first is foreign currency convertible bond. Now from the fundamental understanding is that this is the bond. Okay, this is not investment per se. This is bond.
It's a debt instrument.
Yeah, it's a debt instrument. So if we eliminate one, in that way we are.
Whereas FDI is what? It's getting a stake into the company. It is buying an asset into the company or ownership into the company. Whereas if you see FCCB, foreign currency convertible bonds, it's a debt instrument in itself. So using this clue, you can eliminate it.
Exactly. So if you will eliminate one, we are left with 3 only, and 2
Yes.
and 4, and then we can move to 2. Second is foreign institutional investment with certain conditions.
And the condition is of that of the 10%. That is where the clarity is required, that whenever FII exceeds 10%, it becomes FDI. This is where the concepts comes into the picture. That is why we keep reiterating, get your basics right, and you can sail through the answer.
And
The
Yeah.
option over here with certain conditions.
Yes,
Yes.
the condition. Yes.
Subjective.
yes,
It is subject. No, the only condition which we assume is being talked here about is about the 10%, which I already
so
mentioned.
yeah, so 1 and 2, if we assume that 2 is correct and 1 is wrong, we are left with only 1, that is C, 2 and 4. But we have to be careful.
We are still not sure.
We are still not sure about this. We
Yeah.
are non-clear are having a hard time. on coming to this.
Coming to
So
answer.
yeah, then let's
wait for the
have this.
UPSC
Let's wait for decision. Okay, now let's move to question number 8, Namki.
So,
So,
first
yeah.
you go through the question and I'll ask
Okay.
what's the catch in this.
Okay. So the question is about the effect of devaluation of a currency is that it is necessarily. Now, effect of devaluation, the currency have been
You have to
appreciating,
answer my
depreciating.
question, what's the catch in this?
The catch word in this is necessarily. So here is this thing, and that defines the question. So necessarily, the effect of devaluation of a currency is that it wait necessarily. Now circle that word necessarily. Now we'll discuss this. Okay. I think the easiest one to eliminate is option number 2.
Option number 2.
Increases the foreign value of domestic currency. Now, do you think it is right?
No, it is not, because it depreciates the value of our currency.
So yeah, the effect of devaluation, it is talking about devaluation. So what's this? So you eliminate 2, if you eliminate 2, we are with 1 only, and we are left with 1 only.
This can be little ambiguous, that it improves the trade balance. It may improve or it may not improve. So leaving that ambiguity aside, we will stick to the option 1, that is A.
It improves. And if you have been following news, if you have been reading about China is doing this all the time. So yeah, that is a concern.
Like if
And so answer will be A, 1 only.
if I am getting this set A, and if I am solving all the questions from 1 to till 8,
Did you notice a trend?
हाँ,
Yeah.
कुछ trend या फिर कुछ how did you see that the question was very easy?
You cannot say it easy. I mean, there are catch. They are playing with words. They are catch. So you have to be conceptually clear. But if you are conceptually clear,
तो अगर एक
then
set A आता है तो लोग खुश होंगे क्या?
of course, I mean,
होने तो चाहिए।
if they are well prepared, then they will have this.
Baki, probably the relevance of this question, devaluation of currency, is it also related to 30 years of LPG, because that has been very much in use?
Why not? Why not? Yes, why not?
That
Why not?
somehow very much
Yes. Why not? This is a very good observation, as said. Okay. Now moving on to question number 9. Which one of the following effect of creation of black money in India has been the main cause of worry?
I
Now-
think the student should highlight the word main cause, and that is when they would be able to come to the answer. In fact, in the mains program where I discuss the answer with students, I keep on telling there also, while writing the mains answer, you should actually highlight what is being asked, what is the demand of the question. So I
Okay.
think in the prelims also same goes.
Certainly.
Yes, that
Because if you see all A, B, C, D, all the options are repercussions of increase in black money.
Black money.
So division of resources to purchase of real estate. Yes, real estate prices have been going up in India because of this. Of course, in current times, it has come down.
we have
It's-
to, I
it's-
think, highlight the most relevant one out of the four,
Yes,
because it's being
yes,
subjective.
main cause of worry.
Yes.
So we will go here. We will go with option number D, that is loss of revenue to the state exchequer due to tax reason. मतलब सरकार को पैसे की ज्यादा चिंता है. मतलब what is coming up, or else ये खर्चा नहीं कर पाएगा. So the government is worried about this. So our take on this is D.
And it's very straightforward, right?
I think we will get to know.
Those statements
As-
are very
as-
close.
Yes, as time will pass, we will get to know. Many people will be talking about other options.
Baki, I have a very interesting observation with this question.
Uh-huh.
I was discussing with Shubham, and he rightly pointed that all of them could be the answers, but the
Yes.
best answer is 4. The
Yes.
reason being option 1, option 2, option 3, all of them lead to loss of revenue to the state exchequer.
Certainly, this is very good point.
Yes.
This is in fact very
and
good point.
we have
Yes.
covered it n number of times, some simple facts. For example, the GDP of the country, we talk about $3 trillion economy, it is 130 lakh crores right now. And the state exchequer, it collects as much as 10%. So tax to GDP ratio is 10%, 13 lakh crore. We are talking of the loss of revenue to the tunes of lakhs of crores, whereas these largest of largest donations, these are 1,000 crores. So you can well imagine the diversion of resources in investment, real estate, yes, that is happening, but that is minimal as compared to loss to revenue.
Yes.
Simple, D.
Yes. The only thing I would like to say is that when Harsh was talking about government is having 10% this tax to GDP, he meant central government.
Yes.
So overall it is around 16-17%. It's fluctuating. But what he meant is, and then okay, Namki.
10th question we will be moving.
No, I think one thing I would like to highlight in this question is that all the four options are very closely related. Students would have definitely come across little trouble in solving. But one suggestion while solving such questions is that whenever all the four options are very closely related, no, you should go with the option which has the most severe effect. So since the question here is asking which one is having the most which option is the most inflationary in its effect. So the one which has the most severe effect, I think the student should stick to that. And in this case, it is the answer B, where the government is creating new money to finance its deficit. So yeah.
Yeah,
So
completely.
B-
Yeah. And then coming to question number 11, and this is like deja vu moment. So
Elimination would again go
Uh,
to this question.
more than elimination, this Nanki, you may remember this kingdom associated with Buddha. The question was repeated in
theme.
consecutive years. It was asked.
Right.
Now,
The places where Buddha visited.
so this question will remind you of that question because the exact same question, just option jumbled, but exact same question was asked in 2019. And so it is this. So money multiplier in an economy increases with which of the following? I think if you have done previous year questions, we don't need to discuss this much. So the answer is increase in the banking habit of the people. So that's that. Answer is C. Please.
Certainly,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
Moving on to the question 12, which talks about the demand pull inflation in the economy. So again, I would like to use when there are 5 options. So how I would start is to start eliminating the answer, which I think will not work for me. So in this bucket, rising the interest rate would certainly not lead to this. And if you eliminate the answer, the option 5th, that is rising interest rate, B, C, D stands eliminated. And here we come at the option that is option A, which
So,
is the right answer.
so all you have to see is whether money supply in the economy is increasing or decreasing. So yeah, this is the scapegoat. You have to identify the scapegoat number 5, rising interest rate. The moment you are sure, you get the answer.
Right.
Isn't it? That's how Nanki you arrived at it.
Exactly.
Isn't it?
That is how I used to start when there are so many options being given. No, that is what I used to do. Now,
Yes, again here the macroeconomic comes into picture.
yeah, it's mostly the macroeconomy.
NCERT.
But yeah, and the very bleak side is the microeconomics that comes in. Yeah.
13th.
Yes. Okay.
13th one.
13th. Okay. So we have, with reference to India, consider the following statements. Now again, this is related to current affairs. Just this year or year back, retail investors through demat accounts. Okay, demat account I transfer it to Nanki. So yeah.
So this is something coming from the current affairs, which was there that the government of India selling its debt bonds to the retail investors. Now retail investors can now participate in the government of India debt bond scheme, and that is where this is right. And moving on to the next option, the next statement, that is second. It is, I think, needs more of factual information to solve this option. So this
Yes,
statement. So
yes.
first and second stands right.
Yes.
So the option is B.
So B 1 and 2 is the option. Here I
One
clearly.
hack that
Yes.
you can tell the students is about the CDSL.
Yes. The one interesting thing was I remembered this because Nanki was so happy when retail investors were allowed. So she had this. Okay. Now let's move to last question. Question number
So
15.
before that, I guess our team has very nicely covered this topic. Yes, sir?
RBI
Yes.
retail direct scheme we have covered together.
Yes. We remember reviewing it. Yes.
Yes. So
Yes.
let us move on to the last question.
Yes. So question number 15. Okay, lender of last resort. So okay, if anything related to banking, I transfer it, I deflect it to Nanki.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Rahul, again, as we were talking in the history also, that there are certain themes from which the questions are coming, and the students should stick to those themes, and they can actually predict or at least prepare on the line of those themes. So same is with the lender of last resort. This question in some way or the other was asked, I think in 2019, where RBI was being termed as lender of last resort, and 2-3 options were given, and I mean, it was an easy catch, and same is with this one. So if I will directly start with the third statement, which says that lending to governments to finance budgetary deficit. So when we talk about RBI being the lender of last resort, it is the lender of last resort for the banking system and not the government in place. So if third is being eliminated, so you can directly come to the right answer, which is option B.
Okay, so now I guess the trend, it seems that they are focusing more some kind of instruments.
Yeah, see, the trend is, one trend I could gather is the current affairs but connected to concepts. It's not a standalone current affairs. That's one thing. Another trend is that there is the earlier trend was broken. That's another trend. That is, there was trend of the questions were asked on trends.
Yeah.
The-
Yeah, actually that was something which was a pain for the students since last 4-5 years. There were questions directly coming from the trends that GDP has been constantly increasing, about the trade balances. But thank God, I think
And that's,
students would be really thankful to the examiner that there was no single questions on the trends coming
And then
this year.
UPSC will pardon me for using the word, the lunacy of data game is, thankfully this year they are not asking lots of data. So
I
yeah,
think even agriculture.
agriculture is completely missing. I mean,
Memes also.
तो फार्मर प्रोटेस्ट कर रहे हैं ना.
No agricultural question.
So easy or difficult?
It's a moderate, a balanced one, I would say.
and then I am sad for one thing, that number of questions from economy came down, but I'm happy for students for one thing, that return on investment is very high. If your concepts are clear, you are going to get it.
I think, yeah. So enough of economics, and I would certainly pass on the baton to Shashank and Ankit to take over the polity section and sail us through that.
So insightful discussion, everyone, and thanks for transferring the baton. So how's the Josh? Okay. So let's set some ground rules. So as we are going to go through questions, we would expect that you will be, putting your answers in comments. Okay. Let's make it interactive. So we are going to read the statement. We are going to share our rationale, and then in the end, we are going to say the answer. But we expect before that you also mention your opinion and your answers. Okay. So over to Ankit sir. So he would start, and then we are going to resume the discussion.
Thank you, Pankaj, for that absolutely wonderful session on economy. Thank you for taking it on here. So a couple of things in polity to understand is that after all, unity, if it is taken out from one subject, is replaced into another. And one thing we understand that the UPSC is very clear in making a distinct direction away from the old pattern. In the year 2020, we saw a kind of a step forward in making an ideal that there are going to be questions no more from the standard reference sources. In a way, there was a time in which polity was the least of the botherations for a prelims examination candidate, because if you could cover 500 pages of textbooks, reference materials, notes, you'd probably be able to solve 12 out of 15 questions. In 2020, we saw a transformative stand away from it, in which the current affairs topics were taken as an inspiration and backwardly linked to subjective questions relating to the ideas of fundamental rights, principles of state policy, preamble, etc. And in 2021, we actually see a very, very definitive movement in that direction. So none of the questions I could say would be, solved by a standard mugging up or routing of the standard notes. There has to be even easiest questions in polity are conceptual in nature. It's almost as if they have committed to a principle now. So with that, let's start with the discussion on polity. Question number 77 to 94 is the range, and we hope to see your comments on chats with your answers. If you've given the exam today, please display your answer here, and also comments, etc. Welcome. Now the question number 77, the subject is the subject of comparative constitutionalism. How does it get inspired, a question like this? I think the idea is that we saw a lot of constitutional debates around the world this year. There was the president's election in US, which was one constitutional event in itself, almost, something that happens in a decade, perhaps, 50 years, that there was contestation after contestation as to who won, who lost, etc. इसकी वजह से जो constitutional मतलब कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन क्या होता है, किन किन देशों में क्या संविधान की प्रक्रिया है, दैट बिकेम अ डायरेक्टिव sort of a kind of a thing where that question became almost an imperative. And of course, Indian constitution and British constitutions are very much aligned to each other in certain senses. We have inspired our constitution. So the question says, what are the differences in the British model of constitution and the Indian model of constitution? Let's take the statement number 1, which says that the Parliament in Britain is supreme. That's basically paraphrasing the whole statement. And of course, without too much discussion around it, it is indeed the very elementary thing that we have discussed in the class, that a country like Britain, which has an unwritten constitution, makes the constitution, remakes the constitution, can suspend the constitution at its will, provided they have the majority to do it. And that kind of a thing is, just self-explanatory in number 1, which is the correct answer. Sir,
Sorry to interrupt, sir. So can we say that the first statement is saying as regards legislation, comma. So as regards legislation, we should give due importance to this particular part also. The British Parliament is supreme or sovereign, but in India, the power of the Parliament to legislate is limited. So can we say if student is aware that there's a difference between unwritten and written constitution, and in Britain there is parliamentary supremacy, and India there is constitutional supremacy. So if there's constitutional supremacy, written constitution is there, it means when it comes to India's legislature, there is limitation in comparison to British Parliament.
Absolutely.
Right? These two insights will help you understanding the first statement is correct. Right? Coming to the second statement. In India, matters related to constitutionality of the amendment of an act of the Parliament are referred to constitutional bench by the Supreme Court. If someone has just read it and just come to the marking of the correct question, then that student may commit mistake, because there is an interesting trap here, and the trap is are referred. Means क्या ऐसा है कि if there is an issue of constitutionality, then this particular matter is referred to constitutional bench. But if we refer to Article 145 subclause 3, so it says that substantial matter of law, right? So it means are referred to. One is this कि ऐसा नहीं है कि हमेशा रेफर ही होता है. So it is subject to the decision of CJI, right? Based on this second statement term to be incorrect, so the answer would be 1. Only 1 means A.
So I have one question on this.
Yeah.
शशांक, इससे पहले ये होता था कि जो क्वेश्चंस आते थे when we were comparing our constitution, that how many things we have borrowed from the foreign constitution, but I think this year UPSC has gone a step forward and asked us the difference or the comparative analysis.
Okay, I would like to differ on this point. The reason is UPSC has already asked question on the difference between British parliamentary form of government and Indian parliamentary form of government.
Exactly.
And on the point, I always mention that even if you know what are the features of Indian parliamentary form of government, does not mean that you can equate your knowledge to the overall features of parliamentary form of government. So UPSC wants this kind of intricacy that to be known by student. Right?
What students mug up is what the features that we have borrowed. I imagine that they think that would suffice.
Yeah, I always say, and I think Ankit sir would agree to this point, that in UPS, when it comes to polity, if you understand the essence, logic of polity, then there is, that there's no requirement of mugging so much, right? Logically, things are connected to each other, right? So over to Ankit sir.
Question number 78, I think, is one of it's almost as bad as it gets and as difficult as it gets, because it's a new theme in terms of factual questions. So I think we'll just wrap it up very quickly. Sir, if you can take the options here.
Okay. So N. Gopal Swamy Iyengar committee suggested that a minister and a secretary to designate solely pursuing the subject of administrative reforms and promoting it. So basically the statement is factual, directly coming from the recommendation which was made by this committee. So this question, we would say, is based on the administrative restructuring of executive, which is now in demand also, and some steps are already being taken by this government. So if government is also putting stress that yes, we need to restructure some of the aspects of our executive, then it means that students should actually read the recommendations of ARC and certain details regarding it. But I would like to say this, even if you are not having understanding of particular statement, that does not mean that you cannot mark this correctly. Because in prelims, all of my colleagues would agree to this, correct answer is not just marked by the question statement, it is also marked by the choices which are there, right? In the second statement itself, it is saying that this was placed under PMO, the Prime Minister's Office, in 1970, but it actually came way later, right? On this basis, second statement is incorrect and first statement is correct. It means A is the answer.
Question number 79, I think again is a very elementary question.
I
but
think it's a low hanging fruit for all of the students.
Yeah, we can say that,
Yeah, see,
but some students might be having this confusion. Then in Puttoswamy case, Article 19, Article 21, both were used, right?
Not exactly low hanging fruit because
Yeah.
there is a genuine confusion in 21 and
With this
19.
one.
Yeah,
And again, reiterating the point that even the easiest questions here are also principally conceptual.
Exactly.
So there are no low-hanging fruits as there used to be in the garden of the other.
And also, if you see, Shashank, every year, at least one question directly comes from the right.
yeah,
You know?
it is a trend.
Yeah,
and we
so
should,
again a theme to be captured
yes,
in
definitely,
quality.
definitely.
So,
Moving on.
of course, the answer is C. Article 21, as just like a little bit of a insight into this, is that Article 19 and Article 21 both cover right to privacy in some extent or the other. But once we put a right under Article 21, it becomes more substantial. As you would remember, the whole debate around the judgment of ADM Jabalpur versus Shivkant Shukla. The idea is that under no conditions, even national emergency, can you take away the life and personal liberty of someone without following the procedure established by law. So Article 21 is supposed to be the fundamental of fundamental rights. Of course, this question has been inspired by current affairs event of the information technology rules which have been instituted in 2021, which are in a way claimed by critics to be in contravention to the fundamental rights. So again, one point to remember here is that no question in the entire polity canon is out of the scope of current affairs. Not directly a factual question, but inspired by the current affairs. Okay?
Yeah.
I think so you can
It
take the
is.
next
So
question.
I am in love of this question, Article 80 question. The reason is there are three statements, right? It means you need to give time to read this question, and third statement is the bigger one. In India, there is no law restricting the candidates from contesting in one Lok Sabha election from 3 constituencies. So UPSC is checking whether you are aware of this, that there is a provision that Representation of People Act, Section 33, subclause 7, which says that if you are contesting election, then you can contest to 2 seats. For example, PM Modi contested from Vadodara and Varanasi, right? Same with Rahul Gandhi. So it means 2 is the, you can say, criteria which is mentioned in Representation of People Act, Section 33, subclause 7. So on this basis, this first statement is incorrect, right? Second statement. After reading second statement, if someone is actually just entering into the ring of UPSC and actually, going through this paper as of now, then I would say a student would be thinking, क्या इतना सब detail भी याद करना पड़ेगा? In 1991 Lok Sabha election, Shri Devilal contested from 3 Lok Sabha constituencies. लेकिन ऐसा नहीं है. UPSC is checking your smartness, because if you omit this second statement, go through third. So third is saying, as per the existing rules, if a candidate contests in one Lok Sabha election from many constituencies, his or party should bear the cost of by-election. This was in news. The reason is Election Commission gave this recommendation that this should be the rule. But the starting of the statement is saying as per existing rule. So it means third is incorrect, first is incorrect. Now, going through the options, do you find any option which is none of these? No, right? So it means obviously B is the correct, right? Even if you are not having this knowledge about Devilal ji contesting elections from 3 seats, yet you can actually mark it correct.
So one of those questions in which actually not knowing and knowing that you don't know is a blessing, because you only have to eliminate,
Yeah.
kind of adjust.
Yeah.
In a sense, it gives you an idea of what the examiner is doing. It's sort of playing with your confidence and ability to recognize it, etc. But in fact, it's just smartness sometimes. Being confident and maybe just giving an attempt.
Connecting the threads, I would say.
Question number 81 is a very interesting question. Perhaps it is one of the most difficult questions, at least in polity. It talks about the right to the city. The reason why this particular concept has been in news is because there was a judgment by the Supreme Court recently in which it ordered for the eviction of 48,000 slum dwellers around the railway tracks in New Delhi. There was a huge criticism of the judgment, and one of the critical points was that right to the city has been identified as one of the fundamental rights, or perhaps a potential carrying fundamental right, which has to be given to every people who are, all kinds of people who are occupying a particular city. So in that sense, we had dealt a lot with the right to the city in our in the current affairs sessions, in the national issues, and we have a whole section upon it in the final pages for polity. The correct answer over here is 1 and 2. 3 is incorrect because 3 reads that right to the city means that the state cannot deny any public service or facility to the unauthorized colonies in the city. Now, this is an extreme statement, which means to say that there is no obligation on the state to agree to everything which the unauthorized colonies demand under the right to the city. So 1 and 2 are correct answers.
Okay, okay. So 82 is about judicial custody and police custody. If a student is having understanding, conceptual understanding, what is the difference between judicial custody and police custody, then that student can exactly deduce what is the right answer. Going to the first statement, it says judicial custody means an accused is in the custody of the concerned magistrate. So till this point, the statement is correct. Then it says, and such accused is locked up in police station, not in jail. यहाँ पर twist आता है. Okay, so and that is why the statement is incorrect, right? Second is, during judicial custody, the police officer in charge of the case is not allowed to interrogate the suspect without approval of the court. Yes, that's the fact, because when we are talking about judicial custody, it means that magistrate is going to allow the police that yes, now you can actually interrogate the particular person. So it seems that second is the means B, and only 2 is the answer.
Question 83 and 84 are absolutely simple. Let's take 83. The only thing that you need to remember in 83 is that parole is not a matter of right. Parole is given by a judicial system or a legislative system as a matter of privilege, a kind of a mercy. It is never a matter of right. So that only leaves us with option number 2. State governments have their own business rules because law and order is a state subject. Therefore, the correct answer is B, 2 only. Question number 84 again is, very simple question. We won't take too much time about it. When the name of the act itself says the scheduled tribes and other traditional forest dwellers, recognition of forest rights, which means that there are rights which needs to be enforced, and that has to be delivered by the direct ministry under which that sector falls. The correct answer is Ministry of Tribal Affairs. Question number 85 could sound a little complicated because it deals with the idea of discretionary powers of the executive. Now, the correct answer is A, and there could be a wider discussion upon it, but we'll keep it short, saying that Article 14 has 2 elements. Number 1, that if a law is being applied on one person, it should be applied on everyone, or if the law is not being applied on anyone, it should not be discriminatively applied on one person. So both of these interpretations give us the idea that Article 14 is the correct answer, but we will perhaps go into details about this. Question number 86 is one of the most complicated questions in polity. It is not a very difficult question, and a lot of there's a lot of ambiguity about the correct answer. That's a disclaimer already. The question says which one of the following in Indian polity is an essential feature that indicates that it is a federal in character. So please.
Yeah. So I would like you to read the statement again once. Which one of the following in Indian polity is an essential feature of Indian polity that indicates that it is federal in character? So अगर आप किसी फीचर को देखें, essential feature को देखें, तो कौन सा ऐसा essential feature है जिससे आप recognize कर लेंगे, oh, Indian polity is having federal character. So अब हम statements को देखेंगे. Now we are going to go to the options. First, the independence of judiciary is safeguarded. Now, if you go to the standard books like Lakshmikant, D.D. Basu, so there, when you talk about the features of federal system, you will find independence of judiciary is mentioned. But if you go to the second option, union legislature has elected representatives from constituent units, this second option is also mentioned. नाउ यू वुड से फिर आंसर क्या है? अब जरा उस बात पर जोर दीजिए जो मैंने बताया. Which essential feature, if you go to any essential feature, by which essential feature is indicated, yeah, India is having federal character. Now tell me, if you are having independence of judiciary, do you think in having independence of judiciary, just going through this, and now you can recognize, oh, India is having federal character? Or second, union legislature, means we are talking about Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Other name of Rajya Sabha is Council of States, right? Union legislature has elected representatives from constituent units. Which are the constituent units in our federation? These are states. So state government means we are talking about state legislature, MLAs, they actually vote to the Rajya Sabha MPs. So it means, don't you think the second statement is only possible in a federal system? And since I teach political science optional, if I go to the evolution of the concept of federation, then the evolution is actually based on the idea when it evolved. So it evolved on the factor that whenever it comes to the deliberation on laws, means whenever laws are going to be formed for a particular nation, then there will be an element of deliberation, and in this element of deliberation there will be participation of constituent units. So from this logic, second statement seems better option for this particular question. Although we are saying this is debatable, we have to wait for the final list which UPSC is going to share. Yeah.
In this question particularly. Question number 87 again is a question which is a lot from the political science background. The correct answer to this is B, but again we have a star mark to this question. There are going to be some, we stick by the answer, we agree to the answer, we hope that the UPSC has the same answer. Option number B says, the question is, which of the following best defines the term state? Now, the definition of the term state is chosen to be as option B because it has a fundamental concept given in the start which says that it is a politically organized people, as opposed to A, which says a community of persons, as opposed to C, which says a number of persons, and as opposed to D, which says a society. So when we have a comparison between a society, a number of persons, which is basically a majoritarian kind of an entity, and a community, we always prefer the prefix a political organization. This and other reasons make it emphatic that B is the correct answer.
I would like to share a simple insight with regard to this question. One student dropped a message saying the state, sir, state word. So the state word is not connected to the definition which is mentioned in Article 12, because in Article 12 when state word is used, it is used specifically in context of part 3. Okay, when here the state word is used, it is talking about state as a concept, and there you should know there's a difference between state and government. State is an abstract concept and government is a tangible entity. So when it comes to state, there are some elements in state. For example, there should be a territory, there should be a population within this territory, and there should be a government there, and this government should be sovereign. Now, for answering this particular question, just look whether these four elements are present in the answer or not. Okay, and why Ankit sir said it's a debatable question? Because these four elements are observed in both A and B. That's why it is going to be a debate. But we are converging on B as of now. Rest we are going to have another video in which we are going to have in-depth discussion on this particular point.
Do we notice a trend of something such as most of the questions are from judiciary, state?
Yes, I would say that questions are more tilted towards having conceptual understanding of these principles. Means just knowing about processes. For example, in previous years, if you check, questions were like president election process, impeachment, removal of Supreme Court judges, but this time you won't find these kind of questions.
Because last ये 82-83 क्वेश्चन देख के तो मुझे दृश्यम 2 याद है.
You know, Rahul, what the trend is in this year? This will not be so.
Yeah. So he said कि दृश्यम याद आई. So for that I can share this. That there was a recent, there were continuous debate on protests, right? People getting into, judicial custody, and there was a case also, right? Would you like to share some insight on this?
Okay, so this is related to question number 88. We have seen a lot of arrests under the political activism, Hima Koregaon incidents,
And
etc.
Supreme Court giving judgment over this.
So Question 88, I think, is fairly simple, which sort of gives you the idea that what is the Indian judiciary's role and how do we constitute a particular bench in the case of the positive judges. Can you take question 88 answer?
Question 88. Okay. Any retired judge of the Supreme Court of India can be called back to sit and act as Supreme Court judge by the CJI with prior permission of the President of India. This is a direct provision based question, Article 128. So first statement is correct. Second statement, a High Court in India has the power to review its own judgment as the Supreme Court does. Yes, the High Court and Supreme Court both have this power. So it means I would say this question is direct in nature and answer would be C, both 1 and 2.
And especially the point number 2 is related to the current affairs we covered in the class, that one of the High Courts has given all the High Courts, including itself, the power to exercise review jurisdiction, which means that even if a judgment has been passed by a bench of the High Court, it can also be reviewed by the higher bench or a more important bench by the same High Court. This power under Constitution is mentioned only for the Supreme Court, but it is not exclusively the right of the Supreme Court.
Exactly.
Which High Court has done that?
I think Kerala.
Kerala is one.
So as Ankit, you said that this book will not suffice anymore. So what tip you would like to give it to students? What extra should they do so that they can actually?
I think the message is clear, and it's been clear for the last couple of years, but this time it's absolutely exploded. That one has to develop a background understanding, one has to develop the ability to link the current affairs facts to their back home concepts, and one has to spend time in understanding the intricate problems and issues which the Indian polity faces at the current juncture. If you look at the question, most of them are inspired. I would say all of them are inspired by current affairs. You would not see direct current affairs. So I think this is a kind of a sea change in how a pedagogy for polity has to be developed.
And Shashank, the question goes to you that what is the role of current affairs when the subject polity is concerned?
When it comes to polity, there are two pillars, static and dynamic. So you cannot actually read polity in silos ki, okay, I am going to cram some of the, you can say, provisions, processes mentioned in Lakshmikant that I can float this exam. No, this is not the approach which is required.
They
So
should go
definitely,
hand in
yes, it should be hand in hand. And for this, we, some of the students from our classes who are watching this video, they will actually connect. The trap questions which we use, it means whenever you cover a concept, you should actually think what could be the possible type of question which can be asked. And this can only be possible when you actually go through previous year question papers. Lot of videos are already available on our channel. Just go through them so that you can understand. Oh, if I'm reading this particular topic, oh, this kind of questions are asked from here. Okay, this will actually, create this kind of understanding which is required to handle this kind of questions.
I think whenever they are reading a topic, they should be a little inquisitive about it. That is how that will help them to cover the broader dimensions of the topic that they are studying. Right?
Exactly.
So question number 89.
Okay. So with reference to India, consider the following statement. There is only one citizenship and one domicile. That is correct. Okay. Factually correct. Then coming to the second statement, a citizen by birth only can become the head of the state. एक तो होता है गलत, एक सरासर. ये सरासर है. ठीक है. Third, a foreigner once granted the citizenship cannot be deprived it under any circumstances. Means third statement तो मतलब सरासर से भी सरासर गलत है, because when you go to Citizenship Act, you talk about RTD, renunciation, termination, deprivation, means power lies with the government. Okay, so going by the logic, A, only one is correct.
I think Shashank, in this again we would stick to the concept that set your basics right.
Yeah, set your basics rights. Basic right.
You can just logically deduce the right answer. It's impossible if you say someone from.
Along with that, but we need the basic understanding and.
So for instance, if I were to ask you the question, a foreigner one granted the citizenship cannot be deprived of it under any circumstance. That sounds absurd.
Yeah.
It is absurd because
there should be interplay of basic understanding.
keeping aside foreigner, even our citizenship can be taken up. Okay, we are not in this privilege.
And Shashank sir, I think in 2004 a situation came where second option could have been exercised.
Second option, acha.
Okay, let's not
ठीक है.
touch politically sensitive topics.
Yes, yes.
Which, okay, over to you.
Question number 90 is again interesting. It's again repackaging the same theme of asking questions on concepts, political concepts like liberty, freedom, equality, dignity, etc. It reads, which one of the following factors constitutes the best safeguard of liberty in a liberal democracy? The answer is A, a committed judiciary. it has a very close contest with the separation of powers. But the only argument over here is this, that whenever there is a separation of power, the principle is that all the organs of the state, the legislative, executive, and judicial, are going to do the job which has been given to them by the constitution. But there is a question in the background, who will take care that the job is done according to the constitution? Obviously, the idea is
Committed judiciary.
So the correct answer is
Great.
A.
Under the Indian Constitution, concentration of wealth violates. This is a direct question, factual question, Article 39. If you read it, it will directly lead to DPSP.
I think this is one of the simplest.
Yeah, simplest question.
Perhaps you can use it.
Yeah.
A low
92.
hanging fruit.
Yeah, you can say that, definitely. Over to 92.
What is the position of the right to property in India, sir? I think you can discuss this one better.
Okay. What is the position of right to property in India? Legal right available to citizens only. First of all, just go through the memory. When it comes to right to property, it was introduced in our constitution as a fundamental right. Later, the amendment was handled, and what happened? It was turned to Article 300A, right? So it means it is a constitutional right. Now, UPSC wants to check that whether you will be trapped into this definition of legal right or constitutional right. Okay. So if you go by the word which is being used, citizens only, do you think only citizens? No. So that is why second is incorrect. So first is incorrect. Now, legal right available to any person. So if you just look into the definition, even the title of Article 300A, you will deduce, okay, it is clearly mentioned, no person will be
Article
deprived.
300A, it's very
Clearly
simple to
mentioned.
read Article 300A, for any person, be it a resident or a citizen, right to property is mentioned. So therefore, it is a kind of a
Conception of negative right is used in Article 300A language, saying no person shall be deprived, right? So it can be
The last
deduced.
two questions, 93 and 94, again, simpler questions.
Simpler questions.
What was the exact constitutional status of India on 26 January 1950? This is a question related to preamble. Every year there is one question related to preamble. The answer, of course, is a sovereign democratic republic. As you know, the sovereign socialist secular democratic republic was introduced by the amendments executed by Indira Gandhi. And I think it's a simple question. Question number 94. Constitutional government means. Now, if you watch our videos, if you look at our notes, we have been re-emphasizing that one question every year has been repackaged again and again about the idea of what the constitutional government is.
Even going to the orientation class of GS Polity, which is there on YouTube, we discussed what is constitutionalism, what are the essential features of constitutional government. So whenever we talk about constitutional government, we come to the point limited government. There should be barriers which can actually, protect the arbitrariness, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah,
The idea of the constitutional government is that the rule of the law is supreme.
Yeah.
And no political ideology, metaphysics, worldview, conception can be any higher than the rule of law. Therefore, the concept of limiting a political power is essential to a constitutional government. Correct answer being
D.
So, Ankit and Shashank, that we are wrapping up the polity now. One last question to both of you. That if I had to ask you, where will your meter will be inclined on the scale of easy, medium, or a balanced one? So, what is your take on this? How would you rate the paper in terms of the polity section?
I think Rahul had a testament to that when he was saying that a couple of questions, they are absolutely mind-boggling in some senses because they are going into the depth of political science at one end and legal theory and law at another end. But see, again, Anand sir has already made the point. The task is not to attempt and correct the answers
All the
altogether,
questions.
to know what are the right ones, but that won't be enough. You have to develop an edge outside, and the conceptual understanding is the key. If you sit through classrooms, get a inquisitiveness, as Nanki mentioned, I think these are not very difficult questions.
So, say a balanced one or
A balanced one.
imbalanced?
From
Balanced
our
one.
perspective.
From our perspective, and there can be differences over this.
No,
Obviously.
I think that the polity has been wrapped up. Rahul will take over.
Yes. Now let us move on to science and technology as in the most neglected part in terms of studies. But right now we see a lot of questions appearing. So yes, Karuna and Harsh, I guess let us start with the question number 16.
So I think Banke will be
Banke,
the
okay.
companion.
Now, here,
Yes, first of all, if you give
You are taking my job.
if you give step brotherly attitude, it will come back to you like current. So, science and technology is giving you more than 12 questions, people, 24 marks. And I need to tell you, if you're relying on those magazines or current affairs का रट्टा मारने, आपसे हिलने नहीं वाला है। फिजिक्स पढ़िए, केमिस्ट्री पढ़िए, बायोलॉजी पढ़िए। Getting my point? Even during our booster session, which is primarily for the current affairs, I used to repeat it again and again. I got the idea when plant cell, animal cell question came ना,
Yeah.
हमको वो तूफान दिख रहा था कि अभी प्लांट एनिमल सेल पे आ गए हैं, अभी केमिस्ट्री पे घुसेंगे और देखिए आपसे पूरा कॉपर स्मेल्टिंग पूछ रहे हैं. They ask you about furnace oil. So yes, you treat it like a stepbrother, it will stab you in the back. So coming about science and technology, the first two questions, which is question number 65 and 66. It is about the recombinant vector vaccine. I think even in my office, everyone knows how passionate I was when the DNA vaccine was released by India. And I made it a point to tell, even in my master session, in my booster session, and even the mains test series that we are conducting, you are going to get a mains answer also from this thing. Take it and read. Reason being, making a DNA vaccine is not a child's play, right? So India has achieved that feat, right, Baki? Now about the question, again I'm going to say, it is not going to test कि आप कितना बढ़िया पढ़े हैं. It is going to test you how well you understood the topic. The question looks scary that it is talking about the recombinant vaccine, but if you look at the options, it is talking about basic. Is it using genetic engineering? Very basic. Second, is bacteria and viruses, are they can they be used as vectors? Why have they chosen this? You're making an rDNA vaccine, right? Moderna, Pfizer, they are using this. Therefore, this question has come. The answer to this would be a simpler one, which is both. But the theme has to be understood in a way because you can get confused with the second option. Okay?
Yes, completely agree. So answer is both
See,
1 and 2.
yes, both 1 and 2.
So finally, yeah.
Yes, and again coming to the second, this is one thing which I tell every student again and again. Whenever you see a topic of 3-parent baby, you think that it has been asked, it is not a new topic. Go home, look at your previous year question in one way or the other, every alternate year, and one time repeatedly they have asked you a question. Pro-nuclear transfer आया था 20 में. 21 में they have directly asked you that mitochondrial diseases are transferred. You have to understand. They are not going to ask you कौन सा satellite launch हुआ है. They are going to ask you from the themes which matter. India is having programs. You are having Indigen program. You are having genome program. They are going to ask you from biotechnology, which is on the things that matter. All right. Now coming to the question. The first is, can it be only? All right. So the first question is, the mitochondrial diseases from parent to child can be prevented by mitochondrial replacement. This is what the whole concept of 3-parent baby is, where two mothers, the DNA of the second mother is used to remove the faulty mitochondria, right? So yes, first option is correct. Second is, no. The first option is not correct. It is saying that it can be before or after the fertilization. No, it is a different kind of in vitro fertilization. So you need to do it before. The DNA has to be taken before the fertilization has taken place. All right. So the first option is not correct. The second option, that the child inherits mitochondrial disease entirely from the mother and not from father, यहाँ पे वो तुक्का will fail. If you see that extreme statements go wrong, no, here the extreme statement is correct. The mitochondrial disease can only be inherited from the mother. So the answer is B. Now coming to...
Can I say something? I'm so sorry. But, I have been reading this book, Early Indians. And there Tony Joseph has been talking about this mitochondrial DNA.
Yes.
And how it is actually, becoming a huge thing for knowing how the Aryans came, how the Central Asians came. Yeah. So it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yes, so science will help you understand history also. Science is the future, people. Coming to 67, I think Baki will take over.
Thankfully, we are we're talking about virus. There are so many viruses in this science and tech. So it's a COVID all over. You can see the imprint of COVID in science and tech. You will see more questions here. You have seen imprint of COVID in economy also. Yeah, so that's that. Okay, but thankfully this is departure. So yeah, Bolgard 1 and Bolgard 2 technologies are mentioned in the context of. Okay, so we know that BT cotton, it's India's first biotech crop which is permitted for commercialization in 2002. Now this BT cotton technology is developed on this Bolgard 1 technology. So this you are expected to know that if this is so unique, BT cotton, it's perpetually for men's at least, it's perpetually important, for prelims also, and as a concerned citizen also you should be knowing. So the technology on which it is based is important. So yeah, we won't need much. It's
So
it's
I
this.
think there is a repetition of theme. You have got a question on BT cotton, then on GM mustard also. there was
Yes,
a
yes,
question.
yes.
So I think in 5 to 6 years, this is the third question which we are seeing from the GM crops. All right.
Yes.
From the next.
Yes, so
question.
means UPSC is telling you what to read and what not to read, and you have to focus there. Now, coming to question number 68. So, yeah, now this may appear to be a bit counterintuitive for those who do not have science background. So, be very careful. In a pressure cooker, the temperature at which the food is cooked depend mainly upon which of the following. मतलब खाना जो बनता है उसका टेम्परेचर जो रीच होता है वो कहाँ पर होता है, ठीक है. Now you see, the question is about pressure. Pressure is force upon area. Okay, so force area. There is no temperature in this force upon area. Now, so we have three options. Area of the hole in the lid, of course, area that will determine pressure. Okay. Second, second, temperature of the flame. Now, temperature of the flame is not going to do anything. Temperature of the flame has this effect. Whether if temperature is high, that pressure will arrive at quickly. If temperature is low, that temperature will be arrived at, that pressure will be arrived at, it will take time. So we can eliminate 2, though it is counterintuitive, temperature of the flame has nothing to do, you eliminate 2 and you arrive at the answer. Okay, so that's 1 and 3.
So
The
answer is C.
answer is C, 1 and 3.
Karuna and Banke, I have one question. So being from commerce background, when I was preparing, I always used to shy away from this technical subject, which is science. So what would you suggest for those who are not from the science background as to what is the go-to place, or what do we, how do we start preparing when it comes to science, because it is little on the technical science side of the
Okay, first
profession.
of all, you have to move away from this myth that it is a technical subject. I'm very happy Baki has such an in-depth knowledge on how a pressure cooker works. But you have to understand this is from your NCRT.
NCRTs, basic
I
NCRT.
think you remember.
Yeah, all of us remember actually.
This is from your NCRTs, and you have to understand, go to your basics, understand the concept. If it is in news, देखो vaccine news में हो तो India की vaccines के नाम, they're not going to ask you this is UPSC, right? They're going to ask you the technique behind it, identify the themes. We have made a master session for the very sole reason, themes identify कीजिए. None of this theme is new, except for the smelting question. None of the themes are new. It is not technical, Nanki. It's just that we forget to read the books of science when it comes to NCRT. Now coming to
I
the
guess
next
I
question.
have a point.
Yeah.
घर से अगर कोई बाहर रहता है तो समझ में आता है ये क्वेश्चंस कैसे टैकल करते हैं, क्योंकि खिचड़ी जब पकानी होती है तो घर पे कॉल करके पूछ लेते हैं.
और जब सीटी खराब होती है तो पत्थर रखते हैं.
See,
Yeah,
he's about to get married and he's the husband, so they know that. Anyways, coming to the 69th question, which talks about bacteria, fungi, and viruses. The question here, why the question has been formed, because again, there is this theory, this conspiracy theory, but a lot of people are backing that COVID-19 is a man-made virus, that it has been synthesized in the labs of Wuhan. The reason why so many years are, very, very cautious about the news about it, Wuhan has been the center for the research on viruses, for the microbiology in general, for China. And it is not just a coincidence that there is an outbreak on the global level like that. So therefore this question has come, not directly attacking China, but for you to understand, can you synthesize or can you culture a virus in a synthetic medium? The options here are bacteria, fungi, and virus. Bacteria, as we know, for industrial uses also, we culture them in the synthetic artificial medium. The viruses need a living medium for synthesis, which makes it much more scary if you keep in perspective the whole biological warfare scene. I think the polity and the IR people will agree with me over this. Now coming to the 70th question.
So what is the answer?
Yeah.
69th answer?
The answer here is 1 and 2, which is A. Virus cannot be synthesized in the artificial mediums. Sure.
Okay. So question number 70, another virus. Okay. So you see the virus keeps coming because of this COVID impact. If you remember in 2020, we were expecting COVID to be there, but okay. So this time UPSC have. So
Symptom
the
of
question
bigger.
is,
Now they have started dealing with it, so they
yeah,
have less fear.
the response rate was slow in 2020. Okay, so the statement is adenoviruses have single-stranded DNA genome. The moment I read this statement, okay, the question is solved because adenovirus are double-stranded DNA virus. So that single-stranded, you have to be very careful. And again, the same play that adenovirus is single, it's double, and DNA and this retroviruses have double-stranded DNA. It's reverse. Okay, so they just played with this. They reversed the game, so one is incorrect. Okay, now the second thing is bit more easier, bit less technical. Common cold is sometimes caused by an adenovirus, whereas AIDS is caused by a retrovirus. This is almost in news every month. If you are reading any newspaper, it's Science and Tech page, this theme keeps on coming. Okay, so the answer is B, 2 only.
There's a big if to that. Now, coming to 71st question, again from your chemistry, basics from your NCRT, we won't spend much time. That is, water is a better solvent compared to other liquids because it is dipole. It has both positive and negative charges, which is the H plus and the OH negative, which makes it a better solvent. Now, coming to the next question, 72, again it was more applied. If you have any idea about the sodium lamps, you have it in your 11th standard NCRTs as an activity. वो जो छोटे छोटे डिब्बे होते हैं साइड में, you have that there. Now the first option, the first statement is correct here that sodium lamps actually produce light in the 360 degree. So if you see जो पुराने जमाने के yellow light वाले जो lamp street lights होते थे, those street lights they used to have light only in that particular area. Remaining area used to remain dark. That used to be a problem also from the visibility point of view. So yes, first is correct. Second statement that street light sodium lamps have longer lifespan. No, they do not. Right?
Yeah, completely.
Yes. And the spectrum of the visible light, the third statement is correct. It is very obvious. So eliminating the second statement, we come to the answer C. The answer to 72nd is C. The 73rd is from current.
Okay, so 73rd, the term ACE2 is talked about in the context of, again, virus. So if you have read about, if you have been in this, so you know, if you know virus, you will directly come to D, that it is a spread of viral disease. So ACE2, it is an enzyme. Okay, so it is an enzyme which is attached to cell in, like say in intestines and such, and coronavirus enters in the lung cell via this ACE2 enzyme. So again imprint.
So like for solving this kind of question, are the NCRT sufficient enough?
No, NCRT is not sufficient, but keeping your mind open is sufficient.
I'll tell you
So-
one thing you cannot see. ये question paper, I'll be very honest. I'm not going to say it is an easy paper, tough question. This paper, ये paper नहीं हिलेगा उस इंसान से, one who has not gone through the basics. Second, who has read current affairs but not have understood the technique or technology behind it. It is not a fact-based question. Even this ACE2. ACE2 was in news because of the role of ACE2 in the spread and the change of the variants. You do Delta variant, Delhi variant, all of these variants are going through. They were explicitly telling you in the newspapers. That is the reason COVID has been the biggest theme, I think. It is not about science, it is from economy, from every point of view. Everything is changed. So there will be a life before COVID and after COVID. Anyways, coming to the 74th, I think a very factual question. The answer is B. You can directly get it from your NCRT. The 75th question, Bhavani?
Yes,
Yeah.
this 75th question is about triclosan. So considered harmful when exposed to high level for a long time. Is most likely present in which of the following? See, if you know triclosan, this triclosan is actually antibacterial component. Okay, so it is used in toiletries. When we say toiletries, it means soaps, body wash, toothpastes. So it is used in this to stop bacterial diseases. So it is used to stop bacterial diseases, that's why it is used. But the problem with this is that it causes allergic reactions. Okay, so the answer is toiletries. Okay, 75, answer is D, toiletries. Okay.
Also,
No-
it was in news.
Oh,
in
is
New
it?
December? Yes, yes.
So yeah, you have been managing gadget well. So yeah, so we can see that in current affairs you are. Thank you.
Yeah, we have
Thank
it in
you.
news. It's
Okay.
covered in all the newspapers.
This is
December,
interesting.
January.
This is interesting. Nice.
Yeah, so we have a blend of mainly core plus थोड़ा
Yes,
applied
yes.
वाला.
Applied.
Yes.
Applied करें.
Okay. So now,
Going to the next question.
yes, coming to question number 76. Which one of the following is a region why astronomical distance are measured in light years? Okay, we solved this question by eliminating three questions, because even on NASA websites we could not get exact thing. Okay, so yeah, the distance among the option 1 is distance among stellar bodies do not change. Okay, the question is that why light year is used. So distance among stellar bodies do not change. Of course it is changing. Universe is expanding. So if you have gone through class 10th, 11th, 12th, you know universe is expanding. So one is incorrect. Gravity of stellar bodies do not change. Oh, okay. If it do not change, then how black holes forms? So okay, if you have heard of black holes, leave it. B, gone. C, light always travels in a straight line. Now, yeah, conventionally we used to see that light always travels in a straight line, but gravitational lensing. So it has been in news time and again that there is this curvature, so that's gone. So the only option remain is the speed of light is always same. So that's it.
I think there is a repetition of theme. Gravitational waves
Yes.
was asked in 2019. Lensing was asked in May, and then you have a question again in.
And then there is Einstein. Einstein probably
Yes.
2017 or something. Einstein was asked. So ghost of Einstein is here.
Yeah.
Yes, again to bring to your notice, we have tried to solve the paper from the aspirant's point of view. Then we have done the in-depth analysis. So let us move on to the next question.
I think environment needs to be dealt.
Yes. The question number
16.
Question
Question
number
number
14.
16.
14,
14.
starting
Okay.
we'll come to question number 14. Water
Set A,
credit.
set A, right?
Yes, set A.
So the question says, with reference to water credit, consider the following statements. Now we have been expecting of the government schemes from India, but they have been asking schemes from abroad. Interestingly, this question is something that one needs to be aware of. It cannot be played with. So the first option is actually correct. It puts microfinance tools to work for water and sanitation sector. Water and sanitation both. WASH. This is what is the aim of the government. All the private organizations, UN, allied or private NGOs working in India. Now, the second option says it is a global initiative launched under aegis of World Health Organization and World Bank. See, here's the catch. Under the aegis of, they are not under the direct aegis of WHO, WB. Yes, the website states that they are associated with World Bank. They have some partnership, but it is a private initiative. It is an initiative of Matt Damon and another person called as Gary. It started in 1991. And they have associated with the private organizations, world organizations, private bodies, government bodies throughout the world. We're talking of South America, Africa, and of course Asia. So the third option says it aims to enable the poor people to meet their water needs without depending on subsidies. Absolutely true. Because the order of the day says that you don't give subsidies, you make these people partner. So here they are giving credit. The credit or some kind of loan which has to be returned back, and this is what government programs are also doing. Swajal Yojana, 10% of the complete funding has to be done by the locals. So yes, some guessing can work in point 3, but point 2, you got to know the fact, otherwise not attemptable question.
Started by Matt Damon, you said?
Oh yes,
The Hollywood guy?
yes,
Wow.
yes, he's now into charity and helping out people. He's recently turned 51 just 2 days back.
No.
Yeah.
People are following Kiprio.
You are actually following current affairs.
Yes. And so the answer turns out something like this. Option 1 is correct, 2 is incorrect, and 3 is correct. So it comes to option C. The second question here, question number 16, is R2 code of practices constitute a tool available for promoting the adoption of? It is a simple question, but you got to know what is R2 code of practices. It deals with certification that, so first of all, it deals, the answer is A. So you're talking of electronics recycling, right? So certification of the recycling in electronics field, and this, if somebody gets this certification, it also indicates that that organization is profitable, it is more sustainable. Funding that organization or becoming a part that will lead to better returns for those people. So very good kind of
So, a
initiative.
lot of developments on the e-waste.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely,
Yes,
absolutely, very much. But very much current affairs oriented. You don't know and you don't attempt. Don't dare to attempt a question like this. Okay, moving ahead to the next question. Question number 17. Yes. So the question related to science tech, but absolutely very much to current affairs. So it says, why is there a concern about copper smelting plants? This has been in use for the last 7-8 years, right? So we are talking of Tamil Nadu, where sterilite copper Vedanta has been in use incessantly. 2018, there was a huge hue and cry among the locals asking to stop the production here because it was injuring the local life, the whole ecosystem, and it was stopped by the court. Then in 2020, again in news, because the government said that they want to initiate the production of medical grade oxygen in sterilite plant. Completely in news. They will not ask things like this. They will ask, what is this plant about? That's what they have asked. They may release lethal quantities of carbon monoxide into environment. May. See, a question like may gives you the edge, advantage of this. Possibly this could be one of these. So yes, let's consider one. The second one is copper slag can cause leaching of some heavy metals into the environment. People are talking of the spoilage of the whole land, degradation. What is it about? Is it about only gases? It's also about heavy metals. Who is correct? Third one, they may release sulfur dioxide as a pollutant. See, all these plants, most of these smelting plants do release sulfur dioxide. So, accordingly, the answer becomes B, 1, 2, 3. See, these kind of statements where it says may, it gives the advantage. Where it says will or will not, these are the questions on the extremes. May is not on the extremes.
I guess we had a video on the May effect.
Yes,
So
the May
this
effect,
can
yes.
work over here.
I-
This may work over here.
I acknowledge that particular hacks video by Sir and Ma'am, Karuna Ma'am and Rahul Sir, because these are the hacks which let you answer those questions which you might not be actually aware of. Right? So, moving ahead to the question on furnace oil.
Yes, yes. Again, a question directly from your NCRT is the basic understanding, which is about the furnace oil. See, the concept has furnace in it. What are furnaces used for? They are heating, they are used for heating. They are used in different kind of metal extraction. What is furnace oil? It is the last residue, that thick oil, that, black oil which you receive at the end. And now going to the options, now imagine that and look at the options. It is a product of oil refineries. Yes, it will be a product of oil refineries. So first is correct. Some industries use it to generate power. Now this is where you can go a little, confused. But yes, it is used by thermal industry, coal powered industry as one of the inputs. Now coming to the third statement, which is it uses, it causes sulfur emissions into the anything which is related to metallurgy, which is related to extraction, will release sulfur and nitrogen oxides into the environment. If I have this right thumb rule with me, I think this option is not difficult. So I will go to the answer, which is 1, 2, 3, which I was telling you, Bhakti,
Yes, yes,
that
yes,
this
yes.
effect will be seen in science and technology.
Exactly.
Right? Now coming to the blue carbon, right? Harsh, I think you would have covered this.
Yeah, we covered this in both Gazette and Cosmos, both the magazines. Blue carbon, as simple as that. Blue relates to the word water. And then we have green, which is totally green. And then we have brown, which seemingly is dirty. Right? So it is the mode of production in which either we are employing greener sources, so green energy, bluer sources, that means probably sequestering, that means storing the carbon somewhere, and gray or black, that deals with the dirtier mode of production. And we have covered this n number of times in Gazette magazines, n number of times in the Gazette videos, and quite a few times in Cosmos as well, the Gazette for geography. So the answer is as simple as that. It is about carbon captured by ocean and coastal ecosystems.
Do we have such kind of reference in the NCRT?
In NCRT, see, again I said, even when I take classes, those small boxes that you have, which is for extra information, you will find a lot of questions from there, either directly or derived. I think that is for every subject for NCRTs. Something similar is also seen in the 20th question, and it is also a repetition. If you remember, there was a question on hardy species,
Exactly.
then symbiotic relation. These are some themes, I think, which are repeated in environment. Now here, it is saying, in the nature, which of the following are most likely to be found surviving on the surface without soil? Now this is the question directly from the succession theme. They have not directly asked you pioneer species or hardy species. This means, now what is the catch here? The elimination will work out, which we talked about. So elimination will be fern. Fern is a more, even if I don't know the category in the plant kingdom, fern is a more sophisticated kind of plant. It cannot be similar to lichen, moss or mushrooms. So if I remove fern and I see that I'm only left with 2 and 3 because I'm 100% sure that I see lichen and mosses on the bare surfaces. So the answer to 20th question would be C, that is 2 and 3, which is directly from the elimination technique.
Ma'am, I have a point here.
Yeah.
I have studied about ferns, lichens, mold, and mold, and Moses, just like all of us preparing, ever prepared. But I actually got to know what lichens and mosses are after I saw their images.
Yes.
When I used to go on trek, I used to see these small plants all the time, but I never knew their name. So I would request each of you watching the video to at least look at the image of how lichen is, how mosses is, and you will never forget what it is
Yes.
in the exams. Yes, ma'am,
Chaliye,
please.
coming to the 21st question, very easy. Lemongrass is very extensively being used, even promoted by the government, that in order to repel mosquitoes, you can actually plant lemongrass. It is very easy to grow. So the answer here would be C. Coming to 22nd question, again, see, similar question was asked earlier, and it is also covered in the prelims master session of geography, I think, which is taken by Dimple ma'am. You can go and check the videos in which she has actually told that what all are the different kind of organisms which are the primary producers in the oceanic food chain. So a similar question was asked on oceanic food chain, and here I am very sure that diatoms are the right answer. Foraminifera are the other planktons which are found in the oceans and are the primary producers in the ocean food chain. So the answer here would be C. All right. If you are getting confused with cyanobacteria, it is about anaerobic survival. It is not about being the primary producer. So if there is a question there, do not get confused with the second statement. Now coming to the 23rd question. 23rd question, I think hedgehog, right?
Hedgehog.
If you remember, you would have seen that picture in your newspaper about a pangolin roaming around in the streets of Noida.
Yes,
Right?
we
So
covered this in the
we
Gazette.
covered, you covered in the Gazette, I covered in the booster session also, and on a joking way, I had told that a human being is not safe in Noida and the pangolin is roaming around. What if you get a question in UPSC from that? And I also said, in order to cover itself or to protect itself, it kind of makes a shell. And a similar question has been asked, that which of these animals actually use or roll up to protect themselves. So the answer here is a D, which is hedgehog and pangolin. Do search their pictures, they're very beautiful animals.
Yes, the line "Savdhan rahiye, satark rahiye."
Yes.
Ma'am, in fact, pangolin happens to be the most,
yeah,
traded, vulnerable animal around the world.
Yes.
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 We covered that fact as well.
Especially the Chinese pangolin. It is one of the most hunted among the world. Now coming to the 24th question.
Next question, 24.
Yeah, 24th question. I think it is a straightaway question. We can directly go to the next session, which is the current affairs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
I
So,
think we missed on the answer for
What's
this.
the answer?
The answer?
It is a straightforward, but I don't know it.
I think-
24th.
Yeah, the answer to this is that it is not legally binding. So you have to remove third from here. And India was one of the signatory, which is again issue. So the answer should be A, 1, 2 and 4. So this is from the environment section.
all right. One more question which people missed. Yes, environment and current affairs both. Question number 29. It says common carbon metric supported by UNEP has been developed for. See, common carbon metric. Very simple. It relates to environment and climate change, everything. And UPSC is smart enough to put all the options related to climate change. So assess the carbon footprint of buildings, operations around the world. Enable commercial farming entities, carbon emission trading. Another one. Enabling governments. Another one says carbon footprints. All of them are about carbon footprints. So making a guess is playing with fire. Answer simply is option 1. Building operations around the world. We are talking of green building code. We are talking of things that related with sustenance and resilience of building in times of climate change and global warming. So this is the answer, 29A.
Yeah, I think we've missed 3 questions from a similar theme from environment, which is question number 26, 28 and 30. I'll just quickly give you the answers to them. First is the filler feeder. Filler feeder, it is oyster. Why this question came? Because in your coastal states, the country India is trying to divert farming community from the regular fisheries, and they are trying to encourage them for promoting such kind of activity. Now coming to the 28th question, again here the only problem that you might find is it is talking about detrivores, again from the very basics of environment and ecology. Earthworms, you must be 100% sure. Millipedes, which is the third statement, again 100% sure. Wood lice, 100% sure. So I'm very sure about 1, 3 and 5. But the confusion might come from the jellyfish. Jellyfish entirely, the group is not a detrivore, but only one variety of jellyfish is a type of detrivore. So if at all there is a confusion there, that can be. Otherwise the answer is 1, 3 and 5, which is I think option number C. And 30th question, which is again from the symbiotic relations theme, which is favorite of environment. Here answer is D, that is 1, 2 and 3 all. Cnidarians, fungi and protozoa, all of them form symbiotic relations. So before concluding environment and science, I just want to say for these two subjects especially, we had conducted the booster sessions, master sessions by multiple people, and we see a lot coming from those areas. Gazette also has a very good coverage, and we have a very beautiful magazine called Cosmos, which is especially for geography optional and for GS geography and environment. So you will find a lot of themes covered over there. Now coming to the current, Harsh, I think that is your forte.
Yes, we are proceeding towards the tag end of the conversation, and the last few questions that we have here today are related to specifically to current affairs. So they are the first question, one factual question that is on the civilian awards in the country. So question states, question number 96. It states. It says, consider the following statements in respect of Bharat Ratna and Padma Awards. Option 1 says, Bharat Ratna and Padma Awards are titles under Article 18(1) of the Constitution of India. Right? Get back to PM Bakshi. It will say that these are the awards which have been excluded out of the Article 18(1). So exactly opposite of what it says. Right? So simple catch, missing it out, so goes against you. On this question 1, the statement 1 is wrong. Padma Awards, second one says, Padma Awards, which were instituted in the year 1954, were suspended only once. Now, this is something very tricky. You might not be able to decipher a thing like that, such a factual thing. But the website for Padma Award, it straight away in the about me pages itself says that 1978, 79 during the times of turmoil, and then 93 to 97, these awards were suspended. So it is not just only once. This statement is wrong. Statement 3 says, the number of Bharat Ratna awards is restricted to a maximum of 5 in a particular year. No, it is 3. So again, wrong. Now, again, the catch here in the question itself is, which of the above statements are not correct? Not has been highlighted. So answer is D. All 3 statements are not correct. Okay, moving ahead quickly to the next question. Last 4 questions for today. 97, it says, Statement 1, United Nations Capital Development Fund and Arbor Day Foundation have recently recognized Hyderabad as 2020 Tree City of the World. Yes, Hyderabad has been recognized as the 2020 Tree City of the World. That is true. But the first part is not true. United Nations Capital Development Fund is not the one. It is Food and Agricultural Organization associating with Arbor Day Foundation. So Arbor Day Foundation is about planting trees throughout the world. It is a United States organization, private organization, and it started in the year 1972, right? So this is the first part. The second statement is Hyderabad was selected for recognition for a year following its commitment to grow and maintain urban forests. That's true. It also relates to Miyawaki forest, the Japanese concept very much in use these days. So, so this is the statement 2.
We have covered this in booster also.
Oh yes, we have covered this.
Yes.
That's the point. If you keep on associating with us, probably there are a lot of questions which will come from this think tank. Question number 98. It says, consider the following statements in respect to Laureus World Sports Award, which was instituted in the year 2000. Now, Laureus actually means laurel, bringing laurel in the field of all around us through sports, right? So this award, statement 1 says, American golfer Tiger Woods was the first winner of this award. That is true. Now, statement 2 says, award was received mostly by Formula One players so far? See, this is a very specific question. And you know why this was asked? Although the statement is wrong, it was not received mostly by the Formula One players so far. It is in this statement it has been asked specifically because this award, Laureus World Sports Award, it has been sponsored by Mercedes-Benz. It has been sponsored by companies like Mitsubishi. So that is why people speculate that probably it is given majorly to the people who are in Formula One racing. Not true. It has been given mostly to the people in tennis. That's it. And the third one, Roger Federer received this award maximum number of times compared to others. That's 6, number of 6. So statement 1 is correct. Second is wrong, and then third is correct. Option C is answer. Okay, moving ahead, second last question. Consider the following statements in respect to the 32nd Summer Olympics. Okay, now we know it was the 32nd Summer Olympics. The first statement says the official motto for this Olympics is a new world. No, not true. See, the motto for this Olympics was changed. That is by news. It was changed after a long time. So, International Olympic Committee, the earlier name that it had was Citrus Altius Fortius. What it means is faster, higher and stronger. But this year the name was changed and a small and yet very important word was added, the word together. So now the motto is faster, higher, stronger, together. That's the word and that's the motto, very much in use. The second statement says sports climbing, surfing, skateboarding, karate and baseball are included in this Olympics. Very interesting. If you have read the article, one article about basics of Summer Olympics this time, these are the sports which have been added. They have been added this time. And baseball did exist previously. Other sports have been added for the first time. Baseball did exist previously and it has returned back after 2 Olympics. Baseball is the sports for men and softball is the sports for females. So both these sports have returned back and these 6 specific sports have returned back to Olympics. That is why in use. So statement 1 is wrong and statement 2 is correct. Answer is B. Thank you very much.
This part we have covered in history of everything. Yes.
Yes.
Nakshabaji. Nakshabaji it was.
History of nearly everything. The first one was on Olympics and sir has covered this in the free YouTube session for everybody else. Right. So moving ahead to the last question. It says, consider the following statements in respect of ICC World Test Championship. So yes, IPL fans, here is your question. The first part says, the finalists were decided by the number of matches they won. See, this was the pattern previously. This was it. But COVID, as Baki mentioned, COVID and virus has changed a lot of games around economy and then now sports as well. So the finalists were decided earlier by the number of matches they won, but no more. Earlier, we would see India, if it was about the number of matches and points, India, England would be in the top and then Australia and New Zealand. But this is not how the finalists were decided. And they were decided on the percentage of points earned because a lot of countries could not play the games, right, because of COVID time. So points was a different pattern. It was not the number of matches they won. The second statement says New Zealand was ranked ahead of England because it won more matches than England. That is not true. In terms of ranking, India, England, Australia, New Zealand. A cricket fanatic would know this. Not everybody would know this. So it is like touch me not, right? Touch me not question for many. And so this is how we conclude with this question number 100. Right?
तो बेसिकली पहले ऐसा होता था कि न्यूज़पेपर आया एडिटोरियल्स उठाओ. अभी 3 क्वेश्चन को देख के ऐसा लगता है स्पोर्ट्स पेज पहले पढ़ो.
I would like to say a small thing about my understanding. Now, as the discussion proceeded, I started to get a better insight into perspectives of polity, governance, history, and then science, technology, economy. And I, in the background, looking at where current affairs is from, But then my conclusion towards this is, I could spot at least 4 areas where history and current affairs did mix. So 30 years of LPG reforms and there was a question. 50 years of Bangladesh liberation and there was a question. 1999 we had the new flag and there was a question, right? And then we have another question which talks of 80 years of 1942, right? 80 years of 1942, we had a question of 1942, right?
Yes.
Quit India movement. So this somehow relates to current affairs but links back to history. Then again, we have Nanki, we spoke of, ma'am spoke of current affairs connecting to concepts. Just superficial coverage won't suffice. one has to get back to the roots, have that inquisitive mind, and this is where I understood that some areas were neglected. Government schemes, not at all asked. A couple of questions are usually asked. Then maps and places in news, they do ask in terms of what places were in news. Most specific, for example, Ukraine, Greece, all because of conflict interest. South China Sea, some islands there, they did not ask. But yes, that does not mean that we can ignore these aspects in the coming exams. We have to have a complete understanding. So this is what is my take. I think current affairs is important. However, conceptual understanding is the underlying, is the root which holds that fruit above.
So what we have understood from Harsh कि तारीख पे तारीख सनी देओल का डायलॉग वो important है. So yeah, to summarize everything from the GS paper 1 perspective, we sense that the paper was not very lengthy in terms of the last year. In terms of reading, yes, solving it may take a lot of time, but in terms of the difficulty level, easy level, we can say that it was more on the line of medium to difficulty level. And in terms of the subjects that are concerned, it was more of a core plus applied wala thing. And most of the parts that have been previously asked, that is the themes, we see that a repetition of a lot of themes. And in
Teams
subject-
actually played a very important role.
I think this-
Can I also, get into this discussion? I have also been looking at the CSAT paper.
Yes.
And if we look at both these papers together, I think we'll get a much better insight here. This is a very, very horrific paper for UPSC, kids, because you will not believe it. There are 27 questions जो आपको केवल एक पैराग्राफ इतना बड़ा सा आंसर करके देने हैं. 27 questions, so almost like 1/3 of your question is like this, और आपको 33% इसमें पास करने के लिए चाहिए. I also noticed a lot of questions on calendars. 2027 में 1 मई को कौन सा दिन होगा, right? है ना? Then there's one more, some very interesting questions. For example, just like number system, right? They have been talking about so many, just like your cat or GMAT would ask you questions, and what should be the last number of the if you what will be the remainder, the last number. Such kind of questions have been asked from you guys, and you're expected to break that barrier of 1/3. You will need to be very careful, because my one first impression and the way I am looking at these passages, I would love to discuss this with you. They're asking you questions such as, they are giving you one small passage on religion, a very esoteric topic, right? And then they are saying, what is the most logical assumption that can be made from the passage above? Similarly, they're asking you about what is the rational inference that can be made. And these are proper critical reasoning questions. You need to learn them, you need to understand them. Syllogism के बहुत सारे questions हैं जो यहाँ पे मुझे दिख रहे हैं. All cats are dogs, सभी गधे इंसान हैं, तो इंसान क्या है? Right, we get all kinds of such questions, and we need to crack that. Tomorrow we are planning to organize a 2-hour session on your CSAT paper discussion. आज घर जाने दो please.
And what's time?
12 से 2. We will see you tomorrow. And thank you everyone which has been present here. We really loved having you guys here. It was a wonderful, it once again filled us with a lot of energy. And this day, it does mean a lot to all of us, isn't it?
Yes.
Wait, do we have?
Hi, all of you. Thank you so much for joining us since the afternoon 1:30 session where we discussed the trends, and 6:30 when we had the discussions in depth for every question. This is a milestone for us at Edukemy, where we all got together at a very short notice, thought of a way how we can discuss these questions without simply giving the answers. बच्चों आपको आंसर्स तो कहीं भी मिल जाएंगे, आज नहीं मिलेंगे तो कल परसों all the students will declare it is from their notes and from their question paper and from their teaching. Okay, so you will get the answers. What's more important is knowing how to answer those questions, how to eliminate some of the choices, what areas to focus on, because this is an unending cycle. Year after year, the challenges hote rahe. So if I sum up what our learning was from this paper, number one, the previous year's questions are very, very important. Not simply for practicing the same question, but to identify the themes from which they can ask. The themes, for example, in science and tech, the themes around environment, the themes around ecosystem, the themes around judiciary and constitutionalism, ये themes आते ही रहे हर साल. That's one very important learning. Second very important learning was you cannot mechanically by heart the facts. I could see some comments on the chats saying that the paper was very, very factual. Guys, anybody who is evaluating this paper as factual, you need to get your facts recognition skills better.
Yeah.
Okay. अगर questions में facts नहीं है तो questions बनेगा नहीं. The point is, you understand how the facts are being used, how the facts are being related to some logical discussions or not. The third very important learning for us was, there are questions which are tough, but there are a lot of questions which has been repeatedly flagged as low-hanging fruits. Provided you have got the concepts right, the core areas right. Time and again you are insisting on, don't kill yourself on the current affair booklets. Don't keep mugging up current affairs. Get back to the core areas. One of us here coined a phrase. These are the days of get back to NCRTs. The NCRTs are your Vedas by that logic. You get back to Vedas, get back to NCRTs. And NCRTs right from class 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. But NCRTs will not solve everything. NCRT is the first step, ground that well, but you have to build on that information also. So I hope you all like this conversation. We deliberately kept it as a discussion, like a panel, where we get insights into some of the answers. And I have no reservations in declaring there are 5-6 questions about which even we are not very sure about. Okay, I can't claim we have taught you that because we do not know the answer. Though we have tried figuring out what the UPSC might say as the right answer. But then again, UPSC has a mind of its own. Okay, you can have your best set of choices possible. UPSC will come up with its own list of answers and they deliberately come back after 1 year so that the debate is over and dead. You are tired, you are into the next cycle, don't care about what is the right answer there. Selections are done, cadets are given, but कौन ही लड़ता है जाके court case करके. But it's some learnings for you. And I think more than GS this time, CSAT is a deciding factor.
Yes.
So I won't be surprised if a good number of you struggle with CSAT paper. And we have repeated this. Reading skills are important. Comprehension skills are important. You have to read a passage, understand. So we will come up discussions tomorrow. I think the timing for CSAT
12 to 2.
12 to 2 in the afternoon times. Join us for the CSAT. We want to keep it as interactive and lively with a different team discussing with you. So I hope you liked it. Those of you who have given your paper, एक बार देख लो video, match your answers. Then for heaven's sake, don't bother about it much. It does not matter. I say right is A or B because UPSC has its own list. And some of the answers may be wrong, but UPSC think it's right, so it's right. UPSC is your godfather to decide your career ahead. Don't break your head too much. But yes, those of you giving this year, learn something and start preparing accordingly. So, पढ़ाई आपकी चलती रहे, and we hope to team up. And I must thank all my team members here, all the young boys and girls. Very happy to see all of you participating behind the scene. We have the camera team, the video team, the content development team. We're here since morning. Okay, some of us have not even sat down for a break. Okay, continuously working. Okay, so editing team, we have the lights, camera. It looks like a studio. I won't be surprised if we get a call from NDTV also. Debates maybe. Okay, so I'm not seeing that anymore. So thank you so much. Good night. All the best. Okay, we'll catch up on more succession. Bye bye.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Thank you.
All the best.